Chapter 751. Second level of the Red Realm. An aura no weaker than Nangon Yu's erupted from Bailey Hongzhuang's body. Faintly, everyone seemed to have an illusion that Bailey Hongzhuang's aura was stronger than Nangon Yu's. How could this be? Everyone gasped. Nangon Yu was a well-deserved genius. She had broken through to the second level of the Red Realm at such a young age. How could Bailey Hongzhuang do it? What's more, Bailey Hongzhuang was younger than Nangon Yu. Didn't this mean that Bailey Hongzhuang's talent was stronger than Nangon Yu's? At this thought, everyone looked at each other and did not know what to say. Nangon Yu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. She could not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang had reached such a level of cultivation. She had only broken through to the second level of the Red Realm a few days ago. Didn't this mean that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation talent was stronger than hers? Instinctively, Nangon Yu felt that she could not accept it. Her original sense of superiority was quietly defeated. In this way, it meant that the two of them were standing on the same starting line. No one knew the final outcome. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. It seemed that to her, the second level of the Red Realm was not something to be proud of. Compared to the two, Nangon Yu's mood was even worse. Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude was even more annoying. Even if you have reached the second level of the Red Realm, you are still no match for me. Soon, Nangon Yu found her confidence. That was her confidence as a princess of the imperial family. The imperial family's heritage was incomparable to others. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was born ordinary, could not be compared to her in terms of martial arts or other aspects. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Nangon Yu coldly. You talk too much nonsense. As soon as she said this, Nangon Yu was even angrier. Did this damn woman not understand the gap between the two of them? Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Nangon Yu was infuriated. She charged forward and gathered her origin energy in her hands. Without hesitation, she attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't react by retreating. Instead, she punched out with both fists without flinching. Bang, bang, bang. Their fists and legs collided, and a fierce chi burst forth. Nangon Yu's every move was ruthless, mercilessly attacking Bailey Hongzhuang's vital parts. Bailey Hongzhuang's almond-shaped eyes narrowed as intense disgust surfaced in her eyes. The jade training body lingered around her body as a sparkling and translucent glow appeared on her pure white skin. Bang! Their fists collided again. Nangon Yu felt as if her hands had hit steel. She felt a burning pain. On the other hand, Bailey Hongzhuang remained unmoved. It was as if she was not affected at all. Damn it! How could Bailey Hongzhuang's strength be so tyrannical? Nangon Yu was unhappy, but she refused to admit defeat. She said coldly, "How barbaric! I can't compare to you." Bailey Hongzhuang retorted. Obviously, this barbaric was not the same. Nangon Yu's expression turned ugly. She couldn't wait to tear Bailey Hongzhuang to shreds. Bang, bang, bang. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't give Nangon Yu any chance to retreat. Her tyrannical and fierce attacks landed on Nangon Yu's body. Under Bailey Hongzhuang's attacks, Nangon Yu retreated step by step. She couldn't fight back at all. Chapter 752. Ta-ta-ta. Nangon Yu took a few steps back and pulled away from Bailey Hongzhuang. Her pretty face was pale. She didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang's physical strength to be so strong. It seemed that she couldn't compete with Bailey Hongzhuang in strength. Nangon Xiujia and Nangon Yujin were surprised. They knew Nangon Yu's strength, but they didn't expect that she would be at a disadvantage when facing Bailey Hongzhuang. It seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was not simple. Previously, because Lu Jinglin's strength was too weak, they couldn't test Bailey Hongzhuang's strength. On the contrary, they underestimated Bailey Hongzhuang. The next moment, Nangon Yu took out a fiery red sword. The body of the sword was fiery red, and the engravings were even more exquisite. Under the sun, it shone with a cold light. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her hand, and the glass sword also appeared in her hand. Nangon Yu didn't delay and rushed towards Bailey Hongzhuang. She had already tested her before, and she wanted to win back the previous game. Ding, ding, ding. The two of them flew out, and the sound of metal clashing spread out. Everyone could only see the two of them moving like the wind, with pinkish purple and white light constantly crisscrossing. Sword chi shot out, and even the hard ground was pierced with finger-sized holes. Sparks flew everywhere. Even if they weren't in the battle, everyone could still feel the danger of the battle. If they were careless, they would be seriously injured. Rainbow sword. Nan Gongyu was shouted coldly, and the vigorous energy poured into the sword. Then, a tyrannical sword burst out from the long sword and shot towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling the power of the sword, everyone had no doubt that once Bailey Hongzhuang was hit by this martial skill, even if she didn't die, she would be seriously injured. Shadowless kill. Bailey Hongzhuang's movements were not slow at all. The moment Nan Gongyu unleashed her martial skill, she also unleashed her martial skill. Everyone only saw a silver light flash by, but they didn't see the martial skill Bailey Hongzhuang used, and they couldn't help but feel puzzled. It couldn't be that Bailey Hongzhuang was just talking but didn't do anything, right? Bailey Hongzhuang's figure flashed and dodged Nan Gongyu's attack. When the sword chi hit the ground, a 10-meter-long crack appeared on the ground. Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The imperial family's martial techniques were indeed worthy of their reputation. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang dodged quickly enough, otherwise, only a corpse would be left. Ah! A sharp scream resounded. Everyone looked at Nan Gongyu. Blood had started to seep out of Nan Gongyu's chest, and the scream had come from Nan Gongyu. Feeling the pain in her chest, Nan Gongyu's face was extremely ugly. She didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would be able to hurt her in this battle. The most important thing was that she didn't understand when Bailey Hongzhuang attacked her. After everyone noticed the blood that was quickly oozing out of Nan Gongyu's chest, they looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a completely different gaze. Who would have thought that the winner of this battle would be Bailey Hongzhuang? You dare to hurt me? Nan Gongyu raised her voice. No one had ever dared to hurt her in Lingyin College. Chapter 753. If the third princess is afraid of getting hurt, it is better not to participate in this competition. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was indifferent. Even if Nan Gongyu's cultivation talent was very good, with her temperament, it would be impossible for her to achieve much on the road of cultivation in the future. It was difficult to improve one's strength without walking on the edge of life and death. Walking on the edge of life and death meant experiencing risks, but Nan Gongyu couldn't even bear to be injured. It would be strange if her future achievements were great. Damn, Hongzhuang is really amazing. What kind of trash princess only knows how to talk nonsense? In fact, she has no real ability at all. Xia Jiqing's face was full of excitement. She didn't expect that Nan Gongyu, who had said so many harsh words before, was not the opponent of Hongzhuang at all. It was ridiculous. Zhang Yinfeng and the others also showed a smile on their faces. The royal children were not necessarily so good. At least this Nan Gongyu, who was too spoiled and could not be regarded as a real cultivator. Nan Gongyu only cultivated in the academy and the royal family. She has never really fought. Although her cultivation is good, her combat power is not comparable to the cultivators of the same level. Even if her martial arts level is quite strong, as long as the other party has a certain amount of experience, she will be helpless. Gong Shaoqing's eyes flashed with a wise light. There were many such cultivators in the royal family. Sometimes, the better the family background, the worse the combat power of the cultivator may be, because they were reluctant to die. You are right. This is the drawback of the royal children. Mo Yunjue nodded slowly. Gong Shaoqing saw the key to the problem at a glance. Young Master Mo, you have been in the Qing dynasty for so long. Do you know if the crown prince is the same as Nan Gongyu? Bai Junyu couldn't help but ask. They only heard that Nan Gong'aoqin's strength was unusually strong, but they didn't know if Nan Gong'aoqin had the same temperament as Nan Gongyu. If Nan Gong'aoqin was the same, then they didn't need to worry. However, Mo Yunjue shook his head. Nan Gong'aoqin is known as the best crown prince of the Qing dynasty. Whether it is strength, temperament, or character, they are all excellent. He's completely different from Nangon Yu-er's arrogance and willfulness. He's neither arrogant nor rash. Furthermore, he's very hard-working in his cultivation. He's a truly formidable opponent. Following Mo Yunjue's words, everyone's expression turned serious. They didn't expect Nangong Aochin to be so powerful. It looked like it would be extremely difficult for them to obtain victory in this academy exchange. In any case, I believe in Hong Zhuang's strength. Xia Jiqing stubbornly believed in Bailey Hong Zhuang. She always felt that Hong Zhuang would not lose. Everyone was helpless about Xia Jiqing's belief in Bailey Hong Zhuang. They were afraid that in Xia Jiqing's eyes, Bailey Hong Zhuang was an invincible general. Nangong Yujin and Nangong Xiujie did not expect that Nangong Yu would be seriously injured by Bailey Hong Zhuang. With Nangong Yu-er's temper, they were afraid that this battle would not continue. I didn't expect Bailey Hong Zhuang to really have some skills. Nangong Xiujie's eyes narrowed slightly, and a flash of interest flashed through his eyes. No matter how strong Bailey Hong Zhuang was, she would definitely be defeated by him. Yu-er's temper is a big weakness. If she can fight desperately, Bailey Hong Zhuang will not be able to win. However, Yu-er has always been unable to stand pain. Chapter 754. Bailey Hong Zhuang wins. With the order of the referee, Bailey Hong Zhuang won the competition and successfully advanced to the next round. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked indifferent as she walked down the platform. There was no trace of pride on her face. Such a result was not enough for her to be proud of. Nangong Yu directly left Lingyin College to deal with her injuries. Before leaving, the light in her eyes became more and more intense. The Qing dynasty was her territory. Bailey Hong Zhuang stole her man and dared to hurt her. She would never let Bailey Hong Zhuang leave the Qing dynasty alive. Bailey Hong Zhuang did not hear the threat of Nangong Yu-er. If such a boring threat was useful, she would have died many times. Unfortunately, there were many people in the world who wanted her to die, but in the end, they were the ones who died. Master, this bullshit princess is too annoying. You should just kill her to save yourself the trouble. Xiao Hei's eyes flashed with anger. She was just a princess of a kingdom. She dared to threaten her master. She was simply looking for death. Yes, that guy will definitely cause trouble in the future. It is better to kill her and eliminate all future troubles. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai were both ruthless people. They were never sloppy. The wildfire could not be blown away, but it would grow again when the spring breeze blew. For the guy who might cause trouble, their idea had always been to eliminate the roots. The dark phoenix eyes flashed with a cold light. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled faintly. You can rest assured. When have I ever been soft on the enemy? Listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's eyes lit up. According to the master's words, did it mean that she had already started? Without waiting for Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai to ask, Bailey Hong Zhuang had already walked back to the team of Kanglin College. Seeing Bailey Hong Zhuang come back, Xia Jiqing was the first to rush up. Hong Zhuang, you are amazing. Nangong Yu is just a coward on the inside. She doesn't have much combat power. Bailey Hong Zhuang said slowly. Previously, when she saw how proud Nangong Yu was, she thought that Nangong Yu was very powerful. After all, some cultivators with powerful backgrounds were also very powerful. However, he didn't expect that Nangong Yu was just a facade. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have wasted so much time and could have finished the battle long ago. Hearing Bailey Hong Zhuang's judgment, Mo Yunjue's eyes were filled with admiration. Just by comparing Bailey Hong Zhuang and Nangong Yu, Nangong Yu was completely at a disadvantage. Ruan Yulong's face was very ugly. He did not expect that Bailey Hong Zhuang's strength had also reached the second level of the Red Realm. If he had known, he would not have facilitated the fight between the two. As Nangong Yu-er's mentor, he was also very familiar with Nangong Yu-er's strength. Although Nangong Yu-er's cultivation was at the second level of the Red Realm, it was achieved with the accumulation of countless cultivation resources. There was still a certain gap between her and some stable cultivators. However, after all, cultivation represented a certain strength. As long as the opponent's cultivation was weaker than hers, Nangongyu's chances of winning were very high. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was also a cultivator at the second level of the Red Realm? Damn it, I can't see through Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation. Chapter 755. In fact, since Bailey Hongzhuang started practicing the demon summoning scripture, others could not directly detect her cultivation unless she exposed it during the battle. It was precisely because of this that Ruan Yulong had made Lingyin College lose the competition. Jian Qingqiu's face was very ugly. Originally, Nangongyuer was sure to win the game, but she had to challenge Bailey Hongzhuang. It was fine if the challenge was successful, but now they had lost. Not only did they lose a game, but they were also seen as a joke by others. As the principal of Lingyin College, he also had no face. Jian Qingqiu couldn't help but look at Ruan Yulong. Ruan Yulong was even more shocked. He had been punished before and had just come out today. He did not expect such a thing to happen again. He was afraid that the principal would not let him go. At the thought of this, Ruan Yulong's heart was cold. He did not expect that he would be so unlucky. The smile in Huan Chuyo's eyes widened a little. It was really a blessing for Kanglin College to be able to recruit Bailey Hongzhuang. Long before they left, he and Ren Tianxiong were already mentally prepared, but they did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang's performance to be so amazing. Maybe there was still a glimmer of hope. After Cang Hongxi saw Jian Qingqiu's ugly face, he was actually a little happy. Even if he and Lingyin College were in the same camp, because of the previous defeat of Beihai College, Jian Qingqiu did not give him any face. Now that Lingyin College had lost the game, Beihai College was able to get back this one. It was really satisfying. The second game, Gong Xiaoqing against Xue Haoling. As Lin Hao's voice fell, Gong Xiaoqing and Xue Haoling both walked toward the stage. Gong Xiaoqing, come on. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with a bright smile. She believed that Gong Xiaoqing will be able to win this game. Gong Xiaoqing nodded slightly and walked up the stage with his head held high. His calm appearance also made everyone's eyes light up. With Gong Xiaoqing's temperament and appearance, he would be the focus of everyone's attention in the college. Even in Lingyin College, there were many female students who noticed him. Compared to Gong Xiaoqing, who was full of confidence, Xue Haoling was very depressed. His previous actions caused him to be reprimanded by his mentor. He was already in a bad mood, but now he was even worse. Looking at the weapon in his hand, he was no longer as proud as before. On the contrary, he even regretted using the inscription. Otherwise, how could he fall into such a situation? Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked to Mo Yinjue's side, her phoenix eyes slightly raised. Gongzi Mo, because of you I was inexplicably targeted by Nangongyu. Hearing this, Mo Yinjue's lips curled into a smile. I helped you once, and you also helped me solve the problem. Is this considered a draw? And you didn't help me that day because you wanted me to help you get rid of this trouble, did you? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed slightly, and there was a flash of wisdom in her eyes. If it weren't for the existence of Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin, Nangongyu would not know what happened a few days ago. Chapter 756. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. It was absolutely impossible to say that Mo Yunjue was not smart enough. However, no matter what purpose Mo Yunjue had for helping her, help was help, and they were helping each other. Thinking about it, with Nangongyu's skill of pestering people, Mo Yunjue's days were not very good. The situation was just as Bailey Hongzhuang thought. Gong Xiaoqing's strength was very strong. Even if Xue Haoling was in his peak state, he may not be Gong Xiaoqing's opponent. Not to mention Xue Haoling's current state was very bad. Under such circumstances, Xue Haoling's failure was almost certain. With just a simple exchange of blows, everyone had already determined the outcome. The two mentors of Beihai College were very anxious after seeing this scene. But now that the competition had begun, even if they were anxious, there was no use. Cang Hongxi's face was also very ugly. In the first round, the performance of Beihai College was already unsatisfactory. If Xue Haoling also lost this round, then the situation would be even more unfavorable. Boom! With a sweep of Gong Xiaoqing's foot, Xue Haoling's body fell heavily to the ground. Just as he was about to stand up, Gong Xiaoqing's sword had already appeared in front of him. Gong Xiaoqing wins. The referee immediately announced the result. The outcome of this battle was very clear. As soon as the voice fell, Shui Haoling's whole person seemed to have lost his strength. His expression was blank, and his mood was even more depressed. He was no longer as high-spirited as before. Before the beginning of the college exchange, how could he have thought of such an ending? Recalling all the ridicule he had for the cultivators of Kanglin College, now he only felt that he was the real joke. Gong Xiaoqing slowly walked down the platform. In the second round of the promotion tournament, Kanglin College had won 2 consecutive victories. This result undoubtedly amazed many people. Previously, I only heard that the cultivators of Kanglin College were very garbage. Now I feel that Beihai College is really bad. That's right, Shui Haoling was so happy before, but now he was directly defeated. The more proud he is, the more weak he is. This time, Kanglin College will be able to hold its head high. Zhang Hongxi's face became very ugly, but Huan Qiu's face was filled with a faint smile. In the past, Zhang Hongxi was always proud of himself at this time. But this year, the situation had changed. Gong Xiaoqing, this battle is really decisive. Dongfang Yu patted Gong Xiaoqing's chest. Seeing his brother achieve such a result, he also felt happy. Shui Haoling isn't in the right state at all. He's just lucky. Gong Xiaoqing's expression was indifferent. He also did not use his full strength in this match. It could only be said that his luck in these 2 matches was very good. Dongfang, Nangong Xiujia is not easy to deal with. You have to be more careful in the next match. Hearing this, Dongfang Yu nodded slightly. I understand. Nangong Xiujia is already in the Xiantian realm. It is basically impossible for me to defeat him. Feeling everyone's worried gazes, Dongfang Yu appeared very free and easy. Don't worry, I'll treat this competition as a learning experience. Being able to fight with a Xiantian realm cultivator is also a good learning experience. Chapter 757. In fact, when they knew that Dongfang Yu's opponent was Nangong Xiujia, they already knew that this was a losing battle. Nangong Xiujia's cultivation was higher than Dongfang Yu's. Coupled with the background of the royal family, Dongfang Yu had no chance of winning. According to the thoughts of Lingyin College, Nangong Xiujia would definitely be able to enter the finals. It could only be said that Dongfang Yu's luck was not good enough. The third game, Dongfang Yu against Nangong Xiujia. As the voice of the referee fell, Dongfang Yu and Nangong Xiujia stepped onto the stage together. On the stage, Nangong Xiujia's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Regardless of whether what Mo Yunjue said was true or false, he and Bailey Hongzhuang had already formed a grudge. Originally, he hoped that he would be able to face Bailey Hongzhuang in this match, but he did not expect that she would take the lead in challenging him. Since his current opponent was also a cultivator of Kanglin College, he would first take some interest from Dongfang Yu. Feeling the provocative gaze of Nangong Xiujia, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but have a touch of worry in her eyes. With Nangong Xiujia's narrow-mindedness, she was afraid that there would be a change in this game. The match begins. The referee waved his hand, and Dongfang Yu and Nangong Xiujia began a fight. Nangong Xiujia did not hesitate at all and directly rushed towards Dongfang Yu. The strength of the third level of the Red Realm completely broke out and attacked Dongfang Yu. Feeling the powerful strength of Nangong Xiujia, Dongfang Yu's eyes also showed a touch of nervousness. The strength gap between the two was too big. He was afraid that even if he used all his skills, it would be difficult to resist Nangong Xiujia's attacks. Boom! Dongfang Yu was hit by Nangong Xiujia's palm. His handsome face instantly turned pale, but he did not fall down. Even if he was defeated, he had to exert some of his strength. At least, he had worked hard. However, what happened next made the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others filled with anger. On the high platform, Nangong Xiujia was deliberately playing with Dongfang Yu, constantly attacking Dongfang Yu, but not letting Dongfang Yu completely lose the power to fight. It was like a cat playing with a mouse, treating Dongfang Yu as a plaything. It was no different from trampling on Dongfang Yu's dignity. Even if Dongfang Yu tried his best, he still couldn't hurt Nangong Xiujia. His face became extremely ugly. Even though he already knew that Nangong Xiujia was playing with him like a monkey, he had no other way, because he couldn't directly admit defeat. Seeing this scene, the faces of everyone present became extremely ugly. The faces of everyone from the Kangling College were filled with anger. Damn it, this Nangong Xiujia is a bastard. Xiao Jiqing's eyes were burning with anger. This method was too much. I really want to rush up and tear this bastard apart. Bai Junyu was also very impulsive. This method was not only an insult to Dongfang Yu's strength, but also a trampling on his dignity. It was even likely that after this battle, Dongfang Yu would not even have the faith to continue on the road of cultivation, because Nangong Xiujia was using this method to break Dongfang Yu's heart. Bailey Hongzhuang's dark eyes were stained with cold light. She clenched her hands into fists. Chapter 758. A smile appeared on Nangong Yujin's face. He had long known that his second brother would not easily let go of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, but he did not think that his second brother's method would be so original that he could not help but applaud. For those fellows who thought they had some strength and did not know the immensity of heaven and earth, they had to use such a humiliating method to let them understand how big the gap between them was. Offending them is the same as courting death. Boom! After Nangong Xiujia got bored of playing with Dongfang Yu for a while, he directly kicked Dongfang Yu off the stage. Dongfang Yu clutched his chest, his face was pale, and his forehead was covered with sweat. He stubbornly looked at the high figure on the stage. Nangong Xiujia, you are going too far. Before he stepped on the stage, he was already mentally prepared, but Nangong Xiujia's move was really beyond his expectations. He already knew the gap between him and Nangong Xiujia, but Nangong Xiujia's method was undoubtedly a naked humiliation. He completely trampled on his dignity and did not leave him the slightest face. Nangong Xiujia's mouth evoked a sneer. He did not care about Dongfang Yu's accusation. He lazily and disdainfully glanced at Dongfang Yu and mocked. Trash, you don't deserve to have dignity. When his voice fell, Nangong Xiujia did not even bother to look at Dongfang Yu. He turned around and walked towards the team of Lingyin College. Only Dongfang Yu's face was pale. Nangong Xiujia's words were tantamount to leaving a heavy blow in his heart. Lu Huayin and Fu Hongbo immediately rushed to Dongfang Yu's side and helped him up from the ground. Looking at Dongfang Yu's soulless appearance, Lu Huayin and Fu Hongbo's eyes flashed with anger. Dongfang Yu had always been a student they were proud of. As long as 2 more years passed, Dongfang Yu would definitely become a powerful cultivator. But Dongfang Yu's actions almost destroyed his self-confidence. As mentors, how could they bear it? A cold glint appeared in Huan Chuyo's eyes. Under his sleeves, his hands were tightly clenched into fists. This was no longer a competition, but an insult to his dignity. Jin Xingqiu was also surprised by this scene, but there was a smile in his eyes. Nangong Xiujia had used this method to prove to everyone that there was a huge gap between the practitioners of the Kangling College and the practitioners of the Lingyin College. There was also a faint smile on Tsang Hongshi's face. Previously, because of the performance of Xue Haoling and Lu Jinglin, he had lost some face. Now, the Kangling College had lost even more face. With this comparison, he felt much better in his heart. In the next moment, Jin Qingqiu slowly turned around. The smile in his eyes disappeared, and a trace of hypocritical apology appeared on his face. Old Huan, I'm really sorry. Nangong Xiujia's character is like this. I hope you can forgive him. Principal Jian, this is merely an exchange between the academies. Aren't your actions a little too much? Huan Chuyu said in a low voice. Although his face did not show the slightest emotion, everyone knew that Huan Chuyu was in a very bad mood. The purpose of the Kangling College was not the same as that of the Lingyin College and the Beihai College. What they valued the most was not the results, but the practitioners themselves. Chapter 759. Old Huan, why are you so serious? Jin Qingqiu smiled faintly, and there was a bit of indifference in his expression. Accidents can happen in this competition. There is nothing wrong with Nangong Xiujia's means. What's more, your student is not seriously injured. Listening to Jian Qingqiu's words, Huan Chuyo's eyes flashed with coldness. He knew what kind of temper Jian Qingqiu had. This so-called apology was just a pretense. It was precisely because of this that he was disgusted with Jian Qingqiu's hypocritical appearance. If Principal Jian thinks so, then I have nothing to say. Huan Chuyo's tone was also not good. Anyone who encountered this kind of thing would not be in a good mood. The one who was hurt was his student. Naturally, he would not easily let this matter pass. Seeing Huan Chuyo's posture, Jian Qingqiu's eyes also showed a touch of disdain, but his expression was still indifferent. Nangong Xiujia was born like this. What's more, it is understandable that geniuses have some personalities. If someone can kick Nangong Xiujia off the stage like this, I will have no opinion. As soon as these words came out, Huan Chuyu was even angrier. Jian Qingqiu's words were undoubtedly showing off. He looked down on the Kanglan College. No one could defeat Nangong Xiujia. Principal Jian, it's always good to be low-key. Otherwise, one day you will fall miserably. Huan Chuyu stood up and ignored Jian Qingqiu. He did not want to sit here anymore. If he continued to sit here, he would feel disgusted. Immediately, he did not hesitate to walk towards the Kanglan College team. Seeing Huan Chuyu's move, Jian Qingqiu's eyes also showed a touch of surprise, and then a sneer climbed on his face. Nowadays, the Kanglan College's temper is getting worse and worse. I'm afraid they know they will lose, so they will break the jar. Jian Qingqiu sneered. Today's Kanglan College has been going downhill. In the future, it may be completely removed from the Shangxian continent. I'm afraid the Kanglan College thinks they can make a comeback in this college exchange. I don't think they have any real ability. They are dreaming. Song Hongxi chuckled. Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi looked at each other, and both of them laughed. What they wanted was the Kanglan College to lose face. Dongfang Yu was supported back to the group by Lu Huayin and Fu Hongbo. However, Dongfang Yu's entire person seemed very lonely. His always sunny face was now filled with blankness, and his shining eyes were now dim. Dongfang Yu, cheer up. One failure is nothing, Lu Huayin said. However, Dongfang Yu was as if he didn't hear it. His eyes. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never suffered such humiliation. His entire being seemed to have suffered a huge blow, and he was unable to extricate himself from it. At this moment, Huan Chuyu also came to Dongfang Yu's side. After seeing Dongfang Yu's expression, he realized that the situation was not good. As the vice principal, he had seen this kind of situation before. If Dongfang Yu couldn't adjust himself from this state, then he would be crippled. Go, let's take him. Huan Chuyu made a prompt decision. The current noisy environment was extremely unfavorable for Dongfang Yu. He had to think of a way to cheer him up. Chapter 760. Good luck. Bailey Hongzhuang, Gong Shaoqing, pay more attention. If something happens, come to us. Lu Huayin said. Don't worry, we have no problem. Bailey Hongzhuang said. After Dongfang Yu left, the faces of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were gloomy. Thinking of Dongfang Yu's warm sunshine tomorrow, and then thinking of his painful appearance, everyone's heart felt a burst of pain. That Nangong Xiujia is really too much. Acting so arrogant, his heart is even more despicable. He is simply shameless. Gong Shaoqing, who has always been cold and silent, couldn't help but angrily shout at this moment, his fists slamming into the trunk. Dongfang Yu is a friend he has known for a long time, and the two have long regarded each other as real brothers. Now that Dongfang Yu has suffered such humiliation, how can he be calm? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes sank. The person that Nangong Xiujia really wants to humiliate is me. Dongfang Yu is just implicated by me. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang's mood became even heavier. If it weren't for her, Dongfang Yu would not be treated like this. Cui Haoyin waved his hand. That day in the first tower, Nangong Xiujia obviously hated all of us. He deliberately humiliated us in front of so many people. Hongzhuang, don't think too much. That day's matter was completely caused by Nangong Xiujia himself. How could he blame Bailey Hongzhuang? Nangong Xiujia is too shameless. We must find a way to help Dongfang Yu get revenge. Xia Jiqing's face was full of anger. The other party has already bullied them to this point. If they don't fight back, wouldn't they be looked down upon? Nangong Xiujia, damn it. Her dark phoenix eyes bloomed with a bright brilliance, and her beautiful face was as cold as ice, making people feel a chill in their hearts. Everyone clearly felt the cold, murderous aura coming from Bailey Hongzhuang, and the surrounding temperature seemed to drop a bit with the appearance of this murderous aura. From the beginning to the end, it was Nangong Xiujia and Nangong Yujin who were looking for trouble with them. Now, they even dared to treat Dongfang Yu like this. It was unforgivable. She, Bailey Hongzhuang, has always been a vengeful person. If Nangong Xiujia came to her, then it would be fine, but Nangong Xiujia dared to hurt her teammates, then she will definitely make Nangong Xiujia regret everything he has done. Feeling Bailey Hongzhuang's murderous aura, everyone's heart trembled. They had always thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was very kind, but they had never seen this side of Bailey Hongzhuang. However, in the face of such a Bailey Hongzhuang, their blood was boiling. Nangong Xiujia was the opponent of their entire college. Mo Yunjue's gaze also landed on Bailey Hongzhuang. He knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was never a soft-hearted person. She was just very kind to her friends, but for her enemies, he was afraid that she would be very fierce. Speaking of which, Dongfang Yu being treated like this also had something to do with him. Mo Yunjue's eyes, which were as deep as a black hole, slowly fell on the complacent Nangong Xiujia not far away. It seemed that Nangong Xiujia still did not know the price of offending him. Chapter 761. Feeling Bailey Hongzhuang's cold eyes, Nangong Xiujia's eyes were filled with pride. He raised his eyebrows at Bailey Hongzhuang. From the moment Bailey Hongzhuang offended him, Bailey Hongzhuang was doomed. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips were slightly hooked. Her beautiful face was filled with an enchanting smile, but her dark eyes flashed with the light of death. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly gave Nangong Xiujia a thumbs up, and then, in front of everyone's surprised eyes, her thumb suddenly turned down. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's provocative behavior, Nangong Xiujia's face was ugly. Damn it, Bailey Hongzhuang dared to provoke him in this situation? She was simply looking for death. Just when Nangong Xiujia was ready to fight back, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly retracted her gaze and did not look at Nangong Xiujia. Feeling Bailey Hongzhuang's naked contempt, Nangong Xiujia's face was really ugly. He did not understand at this moment what qualifications did Bailey Hongzhuang have to despise him. Second brother, don't be angry. Bailey Hongzhuang just wants to make you angry in this way. Nangong Yujin's face was filled with a smug smile. It was just Dongfang Yu who had already made the Kangling College fall into this situation. If his big brother came a few more times, he was afraid that the cultivators of the Kangling College would completely collapse. Hearing this, Nangong Xiujia's face looked a little better. That's right, the cultivators of the Kangling College are really vulnerable. Next, Xia Jiqing fought against Nangong Zhe. Perhaps because Xia Jiqing was too angry, she directly treated Nangong Xiujia as Nangong Xiujia. She attacked fiercely and violently. This scene attracted constant exclamations from the crowd. No one thought that Xia Jiqing's outbreak would be so terrifying. It really surprised many people. When Nanyang Zhe was defeated by Xia Jiqing didn't seem to be satisfied, causing everyone to be speechless. As the results of the second round came out, the faces of the people from Beihai College were the ugliest. Who would have thought that, after 2 rounds, only Xiaolan Mei would be able to enter the third round? Song Hongshi's face had turned into the color of a pig's liver. If Xiaolan Mei could enter the finals, it would be fine. If not, then this time Beihai College would lose a lot of face. Next, there will be a 2-hour break. After 2 hours, the third round will begin. With Jian Qingqiu's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others returned to the resting area. Jiqing, your battle just now was too violent. We were all shocked by you. Zhang Yinfeng couldn't help but sigh. She really couldn't afford to offend Jiqing. Otherwise, once Jiqing exploded, her power would be amazing. Xia Jiqing was a little embarrassed. I was too angry before, that's why I exploded. I didn't expect to advance to the third round. A total of 3 people from our college have advanced to the third round. Relatively speaking, among the 3 colleges, our results are the best. Gong Xiaoqing slowly analyzed the situation. But now the remaining Nangong Xiujia and Xiaolan Mei are not easy to deal with. The only thing we can be sure of is that one of us will successfully advance to the finals. Yes. Chapter 762. Nangong Xiujia is a big problem. Gong Xiaoqing's voice was slightly heavy. If Nangong Xiujia did the same thing to Dongfang Yu in the third round, Kangling College would not be able to bear this loss. Xia Jiqing and the others were worried. Nangong Xiujia was strong, but he did not have the demeanor of a master. His behavior was extremely despicable. In the next round, they were afraid that someone would fight against Nangong Xiujia. This was a big problem. Just when everyone was worried about Nangong Xiujia, Bailey Hongzhuang's voice suddenly sounded. "Leave Nangong Xiujia to me." As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes solidified on Bailey Hongzhuang. Gong Xiaoqing shook his head almost immediately. "No, you're the strongest person in our team. You are bound to enter the finals. Wan cannot deal with Nangong Xiujia." Xia Jiqing and the others also nodded. Nangong Xiujia was so strong. If Bailey Hongzhuang was defeated and Gong Xiaoqing entered the finals, their final ranking would not be good. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang was the hope of the entire Kangling College. She must not be allowed to deal with Nangong Xiujia. Gong Xiaoqing is right. "Hongzhuang, you must enter the finals safely," Xia Jiqing said seriously. Although she was very angry because of Dongfang Yu, she would not lose her mind because of this matter. Looking at the overall situation, the final was the most important. At this moment, she must not be impulsive. However, Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. "Don't worry, leave Nangong Xiujia to me." She would never let Nangong Xiujia be so arrogant. Since Nangong Xiujia dared to humiliate Dongfang Yu in such a way, then she would use the same way to humiliate Nangong Xiujia. Since Nangong Xiujia vowed to enter the finals, then she would stop Nangong Xiujia outside the finals. Hongzhuang. Without waiting for Gong Xiaoqing to speak, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her right hand slightly and directly interrupted the former's words. "There is no need to say more about this matter. I will make Nangong Xiujia regret it." Nangong Xiujia had succeeded in provoking her anger. She was determined to make him pay the price for what he had done. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's firm attitude, although everyone was worried, they believed that Bailey Hongzhuang must have her reasons for doing so. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang's judgment had never been wrong. "Since you've already made up your mind, I won't stop you." Gong Xiaoqing's eyes flashed with forbearance. In fact, he was also angry because of this matter. He wanted to kill Nangong Xiujia directly. Unfortunately, his strength was not strong enough. In the past, he had always felt that his strength was strong enough. However, after participating in the Academy Exchange, he realized that he was just a frog at the bottom of a well. Because they were not strong enough, they had to endure this humiliation. That was why he could only watch helplessly as his good brother was bullied. At this moment, an unspeakable unwillingness and anger broke out in Gong Xiaoqing's heart. Even if they were ridiculed in Lingyin College before, his feelings were not so deep. It was not until the moment when Gong Xiaoqing was humiliated that he felt a deep anger. If he was strong enough, how could others ridicule them like this? Chapter 763. Hongzhuang, I also support you. Beat that annoying bastard to death. Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed with anger. That guy was so arrogant they could not stand it. Bai Junyu and the others also agreed. In fact, this was what they wanted to do the most. But because of the overall situation, they could only choose to endure. However, after Bailey Hongzhuang made this decision, they all chose to support it. Perhaps they weren't rational enough, or perhaps their thoughts weren't enough to bear, but this was their passion and everything they wanted to do. As a cultivator, they have always been courageous. For their brothers, this time they will fight. In addition to Nangong Xiujia, there is also Xiaolan Mei. Gong Xiaoqing's eyes flashed with wisdom. Compared to Nangong Xiujia, Xiao Lanmei is indifferent, but he has never humiliated the other side, so even if he loses, it doesn't matter. Although Xiao Lanmei was not in the same camp as them, they did not have a bad impression of Xiao Lanmei. From the previous battle at the airport, they could see Xiao Lanmei's character. Obviously, he disdained to be with Xue Holing and the others. He was more indifferent from the others. Everyone nodded. Among all of them, Nangong Xiujia was the scum of the scum. I am afraid that Nangong Xiujia did this partly because of me. I will apologize to everyone first. Mo Yunjue said slowly. Hearing this, Cui Haoyan immediately said, Young Master Mo, this matter has nothing to do with you. You have been implicated by us. Why do you apologize? Not only Cui Haoyan, but everyone else also had the same idea. Mo Yunjue was in the Qing dynasty, but he was willing to offend the two princes for them. They were already very apologetic. Regardless of other things, Nangong Yu, or targeting you, is related to me. I'm also very angry about this. Mo Yunjue's face was gloomy. With Nangong Xiujia's character, he would not be able to become the successor of the Qing dynasty in this life. He was too narrow-minded, despicable, and shameless. Compared to Crown Prince Nangong Aochin, he was much worse. When the crowd saw that Mo Yunjue was on their side against a common enemy, faint smiles appeared on their faces. They had a pretty good impression of Mo Yunjue. Young Master Mo, Nangong Yu is pestering you, but you're still not subdued by her. I really admire you, haha. When she thought of Nangong Yu's angry look when she mistakenly thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was Mo Yunjue's wife, Xia Jiqing felt very funny. The joke that day was really too big. Mo Yunjue smiled helplessly. In fact, I'm also very distressed about this matter. If only I could find a wife to completely solve this problem. With young Master Mo's qualifications, I'm afraid that countless women would fight to marry you. I'm afraid that your standards are too high. Zhang Yunfeng's face was filled with a joking smile. Now that they had thought about the next situation, everyone's mood was also relaxed. You have also seen how fierce Nangong Yu is. Unless you find a strong woman like Miss Bailey as a wife, I am afraid that ordinary women will be defeated by Nangong Yu. Mo Yunjue joke. Chapter 764. It seemed that their guess was right. Mo Yunjue really liked Bailey Hongzhuang. Even if he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was already married, it still couldn't stop Mo Yunjue from liking Bailey Hongzhuang. Otherwise, Mo Yunjue wouldn't say such a thing. Xia Jiqing and Zhang Yunfeng both looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with envy. As a woman, to be able to reach the level of Bailey Hongzhuang, she really had no regrets. Di Beichun was so outstanding. He gave up an excellent girl from an aristocratic family and was wholeheartedly devoted to Bailey Hongzhuang. And Mo Yunjue clearly knew that Bailey Hongzhuang already had a sweetheart, but he was still willing to offend two princes for Bailey Hongzhuang. This was really, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also showed a touch of surprise. Mo Yunjue's sudden words were really a bit ambiguous. Master, Mo Yunjue may also like you. Xiao He exclaimed. Her master's charm was really irresistible. It seemed that Di Beichun really couldn't not stay by her master's side in the future. Even if she was married, it still couldn't affect her charm. I don't know when Di Beichun will come back. No wonder he always wants to stay by master's side. Xiao Bai laughed, as if she wanted to see the world in chaos. Bailey Hongzhuang was helpless. She really wanted to knock on the heads of these two guys. They actually dared to make fun of her. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was participating in the college exchange by Jingtian and the other two gathered at Wubao Pavilion. However, they didn't see Bailey Hongzhuang's figure, so they could only ask the attendant. Master Bai, that girl had already left after you left that day. I don't know where that girl is. A look of helplessness appeared on the attendant's face. Today, each of the three masters had asked her the same question. However, that young lady had never told her about it, and she had never asked about it before. How come you don't even know where such an important person lives? Bai Jingtian's face was full of dissatisfaction. He had rushed back almost as soon as he finished his research, and the situation was exactly as Bailey Hongzhuang had said. It was exactly the same. This was simply godly. The question that had puzzled him for a long time was solved just like that. He believed that as long as he communicated with Bailey Hongzhuang more, he would be able to learn more. Now, he no longer treated Bailey Hongzhuang as a junior, but as a friend despite the difference in age. With Bailey Hongzhuang's attainments in inscription technique, she could already be called a master. However, he did not know where Bailey Hongzhuang was. If Bailey Hongzhuang left the imperial city like this, wouldn't he be depressed to death? Master Bai, did you succeed in your experiment after you went back? Qin Qingwu asked aloud. Bai Jingtian nodded. Exactly. I've never heard of that little girl's method before, but it's the most convenient method. It really enlightened me. Jiyama also had a look of admiration. Yes, I immediately studied it after I went back. I don't know who that little girl's master is. It's really amazing. It's a pity that I don't know the little girl's whereabouts. Qin Qingwu frowned. I'll immediately inquire about the little girl's whereabouts. Chapter 765. By Jingtian, and Jiyama's eyes also lit up. They absolutely couldn't let Bailey Hongzhuang leave like this. Was this kind of talent really one in a million? Old Qin is right. I will immediately ask them to inquire about the little girl's whereabouts. The waiter of Wubao Pavilion was also surprised to see the inscription masters who were usually high and mighty at this moment looking for a little girl. What kind of person was that girl? She could make the 3 inscription masters disregard their image. Once this news was spread out, the entire imperial city would be shocked. The 3 inscription masters were well-known figures in the imperial city. The 3 inscription masters had a wide range of connections. Many people wanted to build a friendship with the 3 inscription masters, but had no way to do so. Now, the 3 inscription masters actually took the initiative to ask them to find the whereabouts of a girl. How could they let go of such a good thing? For a time, many people were helping to find the whereabouts of Bailey Hongzhuang. As long as they could help the 3 inscription masters find her, the 3 inscription masters would not let them help in vain. They might be able to get the inscription masters' inscriptions. Such a good thing. If it was a normal day, they would not be able to ask for it. Bailey Hongzhuang did not know that the 3 inscription masters were using their power to find her. She was still waiting for the start of the 3rd round. Master, Nangong Xiujia is at the 3rd level of the Red Realm. Although there is no problem for you to deal with a 3rd level of the Red Realm cultivator, I am afraid that Nangong Xiujia has a lot of trump cards. Xiao He analyzed. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Nangong Xiujia must have his trump cards, but it is unknown who has more trump cards. With the heritage of the imperial family, Nangong Xiujia's trump cards were nothing more than the martial arts of the imperial family. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had the entire Bailey family behind her. How could she lose to Nangong Xiujia in this kind of thing? Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's confident look, Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other, and a smile appeared in their eyes. Their master was the most domineering existence. White Lion fiddled with his claws in boredom. Damn it, there was no chance for him to fight. How depressing. Not long after, Huan Chuyu and Lu Huayan returned, but Dongfang Yu and Fu Hongba still hadn't returned. Obviously, Dongfang Yu's situation wasn't so easy to alleviate. Fu Hongba was still trying to think of a way to get Dongfang Yu out. Teacher, how is Dongfang Yu's situation? Seeing that Lu Huayan had returned, Gong Xiaoqing quickly asked. Lu Huayan's face revealed a bit of helplessness. He shook his head slightly. The situation is very bad. Dongfang Yu has suffered too big of a blow. It's very difficult for him to extricate himself from it. It wasn't easy for a confident person to reignite hope after all of his confidence, and even his last shred of hope had been completely destroyed. Everyone's hearts sank when they heard this. However, the fury in their eyes grew even more intense. If Dongfang Yu was unable to extricate himself from it, then his future achievements would be very limited. Don't think about this for the time being. Finish the competition first. I believe that with Dongfang Yu's ability, he will definitely be able to break through this shackle and achieve even better results in the future. Chapter 766. Although Lu Huayan was very optimistic, everyone understood that it was not an easy thing to break through the shackles. This was an unexpected disaster for Dongfang Yu. and the initiator was Nangong Xiujia. The disgust in everyone's heart was even stronger. Huan Chuyu also returned to the high platform, but his always calm face was a bit cold at the moment. Dongfang Yu had become like this. As the vice principal, he also felt guilty. If Dongfang Yu did not participate in the competition for the school, he would not be in this situation now. Seeing Huan Chuyu come back, Jian Qingqiu, Lin Ninghao, and Song Hongshi's faces did not change. They believed that after this college exchange, the people of Kangling College would never sit in the same place as them again. The third round of the promotion competition begins now. Jian Qingqiu said, because there are a total of 5 cultivators left, we will now draw lots. The cultivator who draws a blank lot will directly enter the next round. Listening to Jian Qingqiu's decision, everyone's eyes were filled with amazement. If anyone could draw a blank lot, their luck would be too good. Bailey Hongshuang's group of 5 went to the stage to draw lots. The people who drew the same number would be the next group of opponents. Bailey Hongshuang's eyes could not help but fall on the blank lot in her hand. She did not expect that the person who drew the blank lot would be herself. Nangong Xiujia against Gong Xiaoqing. Xiaolan Mei against Xia Jiqing. Bailey Hongshuang will enter the next round. When everyone heard this answer, their hearts were filled with emotion. They did not expect this good luck to fall on Bailey Hongshuang's body. For a time, everyone was amazed by Bailey Hongshuang's good luck. But any cultivator who could enter the finals would receive a lot of attention. Bailey Hongshuang was the most difficult one, so she directly passed. Regardless of Bailey Hongshuang's final ranking, just by entering the finals, this ranking was enough to be proud of. When the people of Kangling College heard the news, they were also a little surprised. Bailey Hongshuang had originally planned for her to deal with Nangong Xiujia, but they didn't expect her luck to be so good. However, this was also a good result. Bailey Hongshuang would be able to preserve her strength and enter the finals. It would be very beneficial for them to obtain the final ranking. Nangong Xiujia looked at Bailey Hongshuang and sneered. It seems that your luck is very good, but we will meet in the finals sooner or later. Even if you kneel down and beg for mercy, I will not let you go. Bailey Hongshuang raised her phoenix eyes as the corners of her mouth curled into a mocking smile. You're thinking too much. The first match of the third round, Nangong Xiujia versus Gong Xiaoqing. Lin Ninghao announced. However, at this moment, Bailey Hongshuang suddenly said, Principal, I don't know if this qualification can be transferred to others. Hearing this news, Huan Chuyu, Jian Qingqiu, Lin Ninghao, and Song Hongxi were all stunned. They did not expect Bailey Hongshuang to suddenly say such a thing. In fact, this was the scene that Jian Qingqiu and others wanted to see. Judging from the previous situation, Bailey Hongshuang's strength was obviously not bad. This round was actually empty, which was not a good thing for them. Chapter 767. Huan Chu looked at Bailey Hongshuang in surprise. He did not understand why Bailey Hongshuang would suddenly make such a decision. Logically speaking, this situation was already the best result for Kangling College. Who was Bailey Hongshuang going to give this opportunity to? Lu Huayan was also stunned. Did Bailey Hongshuang have a strategy? Without waiting for Huan Chuyu to answer, Jian Qingqiu had already spoken first. Yes, but who do you want to give this opportunity to? Gong Xiaoqing. Bailey Hongshuang replied without hesitation. Well, then this battle will be changed to Nangong Xiujia and Bailey Hongshuang. Gong Xiaoqing will have a bye. Jian Qingqiu's face was full of smiles. The biggest reliance of Kangling College was Bailey Hongshuang. As long as Nangong Xiujia defeated Bailey Hongshuang, then Gong Xiaoqing would not be able to make any waves in the finals. Looking at the bright smile on Jian Qingqiu's face, Huan Chuyu scolded him in his heart. Just looking at Jian Qingqiu's smile, he could already guess Jian Qingqiu's wishful thinking. If this matter was not beneficial to Lingyin College, it would be strange for Jian Qingqiu to agree. Now that Jian Qingqiu had said it, it was useless to refute. He could not help but feel helpless. He did not know why Bailey Hongshuang made such a decision. Gong Xiaoqing and Xia Jiqing slowly walked back to the team of Kangling College. Lu Huayan saw the two and could not help but ask, why did Bailey Hongzhuang make such a decision? Hongzhuang wants to avenge Dongfang Yu. Xia Jiqing did not hide it and directly told the truth. In fact, this was what they all wanted to do. Listening to Xia Jiqing's words, Lu Huayan could not help but sigh. Too impulsive. He didn't dare to imagine what would happen if Bailey Hongzhuang failed. Whether it was Nangong Aochen, Nangong Xiujia, or Xiaolan Mei, none of them were easy to deal with. If Gong Xiaoqing wanted to defeat them alone, the possibility was too small. Could it be that this time Songlan College would return in defeat? Thinking of this possibility, Lu Huayan's face was very ugly. The Kanglan school could no longer bear this kind of blow. However, he also did not think that Bailey Hongzhuang's approach was wrong. No matter what the outcome of this tournament was, he would advance and retreat together with the Kanglan College. Even if the Azure Water School did not belong to the three major schools in the future, so what? Now that Lingyin College and Beihai College were in cahoots, they no longer had their original beliefs. There is no point in continuing to be called one of the three major colleges. Minter, no matter what the final result is, we all feel that it is very meaningful, Cui Haoyan said. Since coming to Lingyin College, they had been humiliated. Why should these despicable guys look down on them? Perhaps their decision was indeed impulsive, but they did not regret it. At this age, if they were not hot-blooded, it would be a waste of their youth. Hearing this, Lu Huayan nodded. Yes, Nangong Xiujia is indeed too much. However, there was a sentence that Lu Huayan did not say. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was at the second level of the Red Realm, she was still a little worse than Lu Huayan. If she wanted to win this competition, it would be very difficult. Chapter 768. On the battle platform, Bailey Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujia stood opposite each other. The breeze blew and their clothes fluttered. The two looked at each other. Even if they did not speak, the sharp edge in their eyes could already feel the tense atmosphere between the two. Bailey Hongzhuang, I didn't expect you to court your own death. Nangong Xiujia's eyes were filled with a playful light, and the smile on his lips was full of ridicule. Making such a decision in front of everyone was undoubtedly to teach him a lesson. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was not enough. Now he has put Mo Yunjue aside. No matter what kind of person Mo Yunjue is, he will never let go of Bailey Hongzhuang. He does not believe that even if Mo Yunjue has a strong force behind him, as a prince, Mo Yunjue still does not dare to touch him. Of course, if Mo Yunjue knew Nangong Xiujia's thoughts at this moment, he would definitely sneer. In this world, there is no one he does not dare to touch. However, it depends on whether the chips given by the other party are enough, and Bailey Hongzhuang is enough. Since you want to court death, I will fulfill your wish. Nangong Xiujia turned his neck and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang condescendingly. His confident and proud smile seemed to have won. Bailey Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes slightly raised, and her beautiful face showed indifference and disdain. You royal family people seem to like nonsense? It seems that only by saying a few more words can you show how powerful you are. As soon as these words came out, Nangong Xiujia's face could not help but become gloomy. Bailey Hongzhuang's words were simply a slap in his face, completely defeating his previous clamor. This feeling is like saying countless words to see the fear in the other party's eyes, but the other party only said a simple word to make you speechless. Obviously, Bailey Hongzhuang's ability to slap people's faces is first class. Begin. As the referee's voice fell, the atmosphere on the martial arts stage froze. Nangong Xiujia's eyes darkened a bit. He put away his previous arrogant attitude, and his eyes were more serious. He was different from Nangong Yu. Nangong Yu liked to underestimate her opponent, but he would not. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang had already proven her ability. If he failed miserably, it would be very bad for his image. The next moment, Nangong Xiujia clenched his fist, and the majestic surging elemental energy swept out from his body without reservation. He stomped on the ground and tore through the air. In a flash, he appeared in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang knew that Nangong Xiujia was very good at speed. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was never afraid of speed. The fierce long sword pierced the air, and with an amazing oppressive force, it violently stabbed toward Bailey Hongzhuang like lightning. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure retreated, and the glass sword came out, overwhelmingly meeting Nangong Xiujie's sword move. Ding ding ding. The movements of the two people were as fast as thunder. The sword light was dazzling, like two whirlwinds intertwining with each other. The sound of weapons clashing constantly came from a whirlwind. The hard ground of the martial arts stage was pierced by the sword chi, and the smoke and dust scattered, confusing everyone's eyes. Chapter 769. The moment the two of them made their moves, it was such a fierce battle that it completely ignited the atmosphere on the martial stage. Everyone stared at the martial stage without blinking, afraid that they would miss a single detail. So far, this battle was the fiercest. Everyone felt that all the previous battles were not as exciting as this one. Nangong Xiujie was best at his speed. Therefore, he wanted to use his speed to completely defeat Bailey Hongzhuang. However, he did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang's speed to be so fast. Even though he had tried his best, he still did not have the slightest advantage. Not only that, Bailey Hongzhuang's swordsmanship was also very skillful, even more skillful than him. If it wasn't for his cultivation being higher than Bailey Hongzhuang's, perhaps he would have been at a disadvantage. When he thought of this possibility, Nangong Xiujie felt that it was incredible. How could Bailey Hongzhuang's combat experience be so rich? Suddenly, the two figures suddenly shot apart and stood in the two corners of the stage. There were many tears on the clothes of the two people, and there was blood blooming on the clothes. In his line of sight, although Bailey Hongzhuang's white clothes had been cut a bit by the sword, and there was some blood on her arms, her indifferent face clearly did not reveal the slightest bit of embarrassment. Obviously, this battle did not have much impact on Bailey Hongzhuang. Nangong Xiujie's situation was also good, but there was some blood on his chest. It could be seen that in this exchange, Nangong Xiujie was at a disadvantage. Seeing this scene, shock surfaced in everyone's eyes at the same time. I didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang's strength to be so strong. Nangong Xiujie is at the third level of the Red Realm. Doesn't this mean that Bailey Hongzhuang can fight above her level? Judging from this situation, Bailey Hongzhuang is not an ordinary genius. Her fighting strength is very strong. She is worthy of being the trump card of the Kangling College. Nangong Xiujie was so arrogant before. The previous situation seemed to be a bit bad. Xia Jiqing and the others had excited smiles on their faces. They didn't expect Hongzhuang's fighting power to be so strong. With just one move, her strength had already reached this level. Nangong Xiujie was so arrogant before, but he suffered a loss in the hands of Hongzhuang. It's really funny, Xia Jiqing said with a smile. Gong Xiaoqing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang thoughtfully. He already knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was very strong, but now it seemed that he had underestimated Bailey Hongzhuang. Surpassing one's level to battle was easy to say, but in reality, very few people were able to do it. How solid must one's foundation be to be able to do that? Ever since they met Bailey Hongzhuang, it seemed that the impossible in everyone's eyes had become possible in Bailey Hongzhuang's case. To practice such a solid foundation, the time and energy spent on it was absolutely terrifying, but Bailey Hongzhuang did it. Not only that, she was also a very talented alchemist and even had a certain understanding of inscription. When Bailey Hongzhuang took out the inscription, he had a terrible guess in his heart. Maybe Bailey Hongzhuang was the inscription master who drew this inscription. Just was this possible? Chapter 770. If this matter was put on someone else, he would not hesitate to say that it was impossible, but if it was Bailey Hongzhuang, he could not give a definite answer. When Bailey Hongzhuang first came to Kangling College, although her strength was very outstanding, she was not his and Dongfang Yu's opponent. Now, in a short period of time, Bailey Hongzhuang has already walked in front of them. This progress was simply shocking. Although there was the inheritance of the ruins, luck was also a part of strength. At least in this regard, he was definitely not comparable to Bailey Hongzhuang. Lu Huayan's eyes also flashed with joy. Bailey Hongzhuang's performance was really amazing. Huan Chuyu, who was originally very worried, was also relieved at this moment. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was young, she had her own reasons for doing things every time. Compared with Huan Chiyu's calmness, Jin Qingqiu's face was ugly. He never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength could reach such a level. If Bailey Hongzhuang won in this competition, it would be really bad. Nangong Xiujia's face was very ugly. He originally wanted to destroy Bailey Hongzhuang in a way that would make her have no ability to fight back, but the scene that happened now was not what he imagined. The previous test is over. Now let's get to the point. Nangong Xiujia put away his previous arrogant posture, and his eyes were a bit serious. Now he has a certain understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang's strength. Her strength was not simple. If he was not careful, it was not impossible to be defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang, and he could not accept such a result. With Nangong Xiujia's voice fell, everyone's expression changed again. The previous battle between the two was so fierce. Was it just the first test? Then, how terrible would the real battle be? Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. Well, let's finish it quickly. She knew that Nangong Xiujia did not use his full strength, but she also did not use her full strength. In the next moment, Nangong Xiujia had directly retracted his weapon. Immediately afterward, the elemental energy in his body surged wildly and continuously gathered on his hands. Everyone saw that Nangong Xiujia's hands were constantly flipping, and a complicated seal was formed from his hands. At the same time, a powerful and palpitating force spread out from his hands. Sky Demon Palm. Nangong Xiujia shouted, and under everyone's horrified eyes, a huge palm was suspended in the air. His palm was white, but it was covered with black veins. It looked like palm prints, and it looked very frightening. In particular, the terrifying power emitted by this martial skill caused many of the spectators to feel their hearts palpitate. This was a terrifying power that could threaten their lives. This is a profound, ranked martial skill. Everyone exclaimed. The famous Sky Demon Palm of the royal family is very powerful. It is said that a member of the royal family once used this Sky Demon Palm to kill his opponent. I didn't expect Nangong Xiujia to have mastered the Sky Demon Palm. From this momentum, he has mastered it very well. I am afraid that Bailey Hongzhuang is in danger. Chapter 771. Seeing Nangong Xiujia's actions, Bailey Hongzhuang's face did not show the slightest hint of panic. Bailey Hongzhuang's speed was not slow at all. Her hands quickly turned over, and a complex and mysterious handprint appeared, dazzling everyone. Just by the speed and complexity of Bailey Hongzhuang's handprint, it could be seen that Bailey Hongzhuang's martial arts level was not weak. The final result of this battle was still unknown. Sacred Azure Flame Palm. With Bailey Hongzhuang's cold voice, a tyrannical energy fluctuation erupted from Bailey Hongzhuang's hands, and Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows also appeared a little sweat. Everyone's eyes were filled with astonishment because they felt an energy fluctuation that was not weaker than the heavenly demon palm spread out from Bailey Hongzhuang's body. Immediately afterward, a huge palm flashing with a blue flame also appeared behind Bailey Hongzhuang. The blue flame was burning, and the temperature around the stage rose a bit in an instant. The nearby cultivators could not help but have sweat on their faces. Obviously, Bailey Hongzhuang's martial arts were also profound level martial arts, and the level of this martial arts was not weaker than Nangong Xiujia's heavenly demon palm. After perceiving these two terrifying fluctuations, the onlookers who were quite close to the stage took a few steps back. As long as these two martial arts collided, the energy that erupted would be very terrifying. If they stood too close, they might be affected, and that would be an unexpected disaster. Seeing everyone's move back, many people's hearts were filled with emotion. The strength of the innate realm and the Haute Eon realm were two completely different levels. The power brought by the fight between Bailey Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujia was not comparable to ordinary people. Xia Jiqing's eyes could not help but have a touch of worry. She did not expect that Nangong Xiujia's reputation was not exaggerated. This fluctuation was very terrifying. Hong Zhuang would not have an accident, right? Not only Xia Jiqing, but Gong Shaoqing and the others were also very worried. The battle had reached this level, and they could no longer judge who was stronger. Nangong Shojie's eyes showed a touch of ruthlessness. With a wave of his hand, the heavenly demon palm attacked Bailey Hongzhuang without hesitation. Go! Bailey Hongzhuang's mind moved, and the sacred azure flame palm also fiercely rushed toward the heavenly demon palm. The white light and the blue light collided, and the heavenly demon palm and sacred azure flame, sacred palm collided together in front of countless shocked eyes. Boom! A loud noise. Sound came from outside the nine heavens, and violent energy raging with the stage as the center. Boom! The skies seemed to have been swept Hongzhuang's of, and the demon palm realm's palm Zaxiuking palm Xiujia was swept of a Xiujia, of a use of the of, each occupied Hongzhuang onto the stage. Countless cultivators were shocked to see the surging violent energy on the stage. This kind of collision was really amazing. Nangong Yujin and the others, who were previously calm, were now nervously looking at the high platform. This fierce battle situation had exceeded their expectations. The original hustle and bustle returned to calmness in an instant. Only the sound of the explosion came from the stage. Almost all the onlookers were speechless. This kind of collision, even in the previous college exchanges, was rare. Chapter 772. When the white light and the azure light disappeared, the smoke and dust gradually dissipated, and everyone could see everything in front of them. The two figures on the stage gradually appeared in everyone's line of sight. At this moment, a huge crater had appeared in the middle of the originally hard battling platform. Cracks had already spread out around the crater like a spider web, densely packed, as if the entire place was in ruins. Nangong Xiujia was still standing in his original position. His luxurious brocade robe was stained with blood, and his hair was messy. His handsome face was filled with shock at the moment. He couldn't imagine that the victory that he thought would be easy to win had turned out like this. On the other side, Bailey Hongzhuang's white dress was also blooming with blood. Her hair was draped over her shoulders, and her delicate and beautiful face was a bit pale. It was clearly a messy appearance, but in the eyes of everyone, there was an indescribable beauty and heartache. This woman was already beautiful to the extreme. No matter what the situation was, it couldn't affect her beauty in the slightest. However, the originally lively environment seemed to have solidified at this moment. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Bailey Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujia. They could see that both of them were injured, but they didn't know who the winner of this battle was. On the high platform, the four principals could no longer remain calm at this moment. Their eyes fell on the stage. In this situation, they couldn't tell who won and who lost in a short time. Although Bailey Hongzhuang's face was a bit pale, her figure was still straight, and the corner of her mouth slowly evoked a mocking arc. You lost. These three simple words made Nangong Xiujia's face extremely ugly. I won't. Puff. Before he could finish a sentence, Nangong Xiujia could no longer control the blood in his throat and spurted out a mouthful of blood. As the blood spurted out, Nangong Xiujia's face instantly turned pale. He couldn't stand still and fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air. This result was really shocking and incredible. No matter from which perspective, Nangong Xiujia had the advantage, but even with such an advantage, Nangong Xiujia actually lost. How could this be? All the practitioners of Lingyin College were thinking about this question. How could Nangong Xiujia lose? However, there was a burst of cheers from the Kanglin College. The eyes of Xia Jiqing and the others flashed with unspeakable ecstasy. Bailey Hongzhuang won. With such a gap, Bailey Hongzhuang won. She defeated Nangong Xiujia in front of everyone and avenged Dongfang Yu. They had longed for this victory too much. Now that their dreams had come true, they found it hard to believe. Bailey Hongzhuang walked towards Nangong Xiujia step by step. Nangong Xiujia, who had fallen to the ground and no longer had the strength to support him to stand up, saw Bailey Hongzhuang approaching, and a hint of nervousness appeared in his eyes. What are you going to do? Bailey Hongzhuang's smile gradually widened, enchanting and charming. Her every step was slow but firm, as if every step was stepping on Nangong Shioji's heart. Boom! Chapter 773. Seeing this scene, everyone once again sucked in a breath of cold air. Was Bailey Hongzhuang crazy? She actually used such a way to humiliate Nangong Xiujia? This was the territory of the Qing dynasty. However, when the people of the Kangling College saw this scene, they only felt that their blood was burning and every cell in their body was excited. This was Bailey Hongzhuang's counterattack. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with ridicule as she looked at Nangong Xiujia condescendingly. Her eyebrows were full of disdain and contempt. She wanted to return everything that Nangong Xiujia had done to him. She wanted Nangong Xiujia to taste the pain of being humiliated. You are just a waste. When these words came out, Nangong Xiujia's eyes were bloodshot. He was a high and mighty prince. When had he ever been humiliated like this? Bailey Hongzhuang, you are courting death. Nangong Xiujia gritted his teeth. This was the biggest shame in his life. He had always been condescending, but now he was being stepped on by a woman, and he had no strength to resist. It was simply unbearable. Oh, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Only the officials are allowed to set fires, but the common people aren't allowed to light lamps. You're just relying on your identity as a prince to run amok. Let's not talk about this. You're just a defeated opponent. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly retracted her footsteps. Her shoes stepped on the ground, as if stepping on Nangong Xiujia's body made her shoes dirty. If I am a waste, then you are the waste of waste. Bailey Hongzhuang left this sentence and did not hesitate to walk down the platform. Only Nangong Xiujia was still lying on the platform, bearing the unbearable humiliation. Those who humiliate others will be humiliated by others. Bailey Hongzhuang used her actions to avenge Dongfangyu. The onlookers of the Lingyin College should have been very angry when they saw this scene, but for some reason, there was an indescribable sense of pleasure in their hearts. Perhaps they had been bullied by the members of the imperial family and were used to the other party's high and mighty attitude. They had forgotten that they were hot-blooded and had the same unyielding will. Bailey Hongzhuang was doing her best to avenge her teammates, while they had to endure the humiliation that they shouldn't have endured. Why were the students of Kangling College able to live so happily, while they had to endure the humiliation to survive? Hongzhuang, good job! Xia Jiqing shouted loudly as she clapped her hands. Her eyes were red. Although she was avenging Dongfangyu, she was really lucky to have a friend like Bailey Hongzhuang. As Xia Jiqing clapped her hands, the cultivators of the Kangling College also clapped their hands. Bailey Hongzhuang was their hero. However, to everyone's surprise, the applause was getting louder and louder. Even the cultivators of Lingyin College were no exception. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang was the hero in everyone's eyes. The applause was getting louder and louder, and the cheers were getting louder and louder. Bailey Hongzhuang, as a commoner, had created a miracle. There was a big smile on Huan Chuyo's face. Bailey Hongzhuang not only did not let him down, but her performance was perfect. She had made a name for the Kangling College. Chapter 774. Compared to the joy in Huan Chuyo's heart at the moment, Jian Qingqiu and Lin Ninghao's faces were ugly to the extreme. Originally, with the strength of Nangong Xiujia, it was impossible for him to lose this competition. Now he not only lost, but was also humiliated in public. However, with Nangong Xiujia's previous humiliation of Dongfangyu as an example, this scene was even more natural. The most important thing was that this was the home of Lingyin College. The students of Lingyin College even applauded for Bailey Hongzhuang. This was simply nonsense. However, in this situation, they could not stop it. If this matter was spread out, it would be a shame in the history of Lingyin College. Song Hongxi was also surprised. He looked at Huan Chuyu with envy. It was a great blessing for Kangling College to have Bailey Hongzhuang as a student. So far, almost all the limelight of the college tournament had been stolen by Bailey Hongzhuang alone. The entire Beihai College seemed to have become a foil. Regardless of the final result of this college tournament, everyone would not forget the amazing performance of Kanglan College. Nangong Yujin's face was ugly to the extreme, although they represented Lingyin College this time. As a prince, they also represented the face of the royal family. Now all the people who represented Lingyin College had been wiped out. This was not only a shame for Lingyin College, but also a shame for the royal family. Now only Nangong Aochin was left. Although Nangong Aochin's strength was enough to win the college tournament, in the first 3 rounds of the tournament, the performance of the royal family was really unsatisfactory. Nangong Yujin quickly jumped onto the stage and immediately asked people to carry Nangong Xiujia, who could not move, down. Nangong Xiujia had already been ridiculed. If he continued to stay here, he would only be a joke in the eyes of everyone. He was more worried that his second brother could not stand such a big blow. Usually, it was only his second brother who humiliated others. How could others humiliate him? What's more, now it happened in front of everyone. With his second brother's temper, he was afraid that he would completely collapse. Xia Jiqing and the others also immediately came to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. In this battle, Bailey Hongzhuang was obviously injured and had to hurry back to rest. Mo Yunjua looked at the proud Bailey Hongzhuang, and the admiration in his eyes deepened. It seemed that he was right. Bailey Hongzhuang was indeed different from ordinary girls. Today, Bailey Hongzhuang's performance, even he couldn't help but praise her. Xiao Lanmei looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. His indifferent eyes flashed with a trace of emotion. He hadn't felt this kind of emotion for a long time. In Beihai College, where everyone only cared about their own interests in order to avenge a friend, there had never been such a case in the history of Beihai College. Perhaps Bailey Hongzhuang's actions were stupid in many people's eyes, but it was this kind of rare friendship that was precious. Hongzhuang, how are you? Xia Jiqing supported Bailey Hongzhuang. Her bright eyes were full of worry. Although this battle was very exciting, Bailey Hongzhuang's injuries were not light. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand slightly. The injury is not very serious, don't worry. Chapter 775. Xia Jiqing looked deeply at Bailey Hongzhuang. Are you really okay? Looking at the uncertain worry in Xia Jiqing's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Don't worry, this battle did not hurt my foundation. I will recover soon. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang so serious, Xia Jiqing was relieved. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang herself was a genius doctor. She believed that she knew her own physical condition very well. Lu Huayan also greeted her. There was no lack of worry in his eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang, today's tournament is over. You should go back and rest. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Okay. Bailey Hongzhuang returned to the dormitory under the crowd. Mo Yunjua also walked behind the crowd. The face that had been calm and without much emotion still did not have much fluctuation. However, the pair of deep black eyes had a few changes, but the fluctuations disappeared too quickly, making people unable to see it clearly. Everyone had been looking forward to the inter-college promotion tournament, with Bailey Hongzhuang's eye-popping battle had come to an end. After this battle, no one dared to look at the Azure Water College's cultivators with the same contempt as before, because they had proved their strength with their actions. The strong had always been respected by others. Huan Chuyu also left the high platform with a smile on his face. The following mess would be handed over to Jian Qingqiu to deal with. Regardless of the final result of this tournament, the limelight of Lingyin College and Beihai College had been completely overshadowed by the Kanglan College. The onlookers also dispersed with shock. They thought that this time the Lingyin College would be able to crush the Kanglan College in an irresistible manner. Who would have thought that the Kanglan College would have such a big upset? In addition to Nangong Aochin, who had directly advanced to the finals, the rest of the people from the Lingyin College had all returned in defeat. Even Nangong Xiujia, who was highly regarded by everyone, had been defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang. What's more, Bailey Hongzhuang had succeeded in the battle. What kind of combat power was this? Bailey Hongzhuang was definitely the dark horse of this year's college exchange. In the end, only Xiao Lanmei from the Beihai College entered the finals. Regarding the strength of Xiao Lanmei, the cultivators who were watching knew that Xiao Lanmei was also very strong. However, under the cover of Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Lanmei's limelight was completely overshadowed. However, everyone understood that the finals held tomorrow was the final. This year's inter-school tournament seemed to be even more exciting than the previous ones. Although Xia Jiqing was defeated in the hands of Xiao Lanmei was obviously not a scum like Nangong Xiujia. He didn't do anything excessive. In this regard, Xia Jiqing also calmly accepted this failure. Being able to advance to the third round was already beyond her expectations. For the Kanglin College's trump card, Xia Jiqing had already prepared her heart, so she did not feel the slightest disappointment. Inside the room, everyone's eyes, in college, Hongzhuang Yan College and the Shihongyin eyes. Chapter 776. Huan Shuyu walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side and handed a white porcelain bottle to Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang, take this pill as soon as possible and have a good rest. Although he still felt that Bailey Hongzhuang's actions were a bit impulsive, Huan Shuyu also felt that Bailey Hongzhuang's actions were very happy. At least, this slap on the face of Lingyin College was very loud. When he thought of Jian Qingxiu and Lin Yinghao's ugly eyes, he couldn't help but want to laugh. Vice Principal, this, without waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to refuse, Huan Shuyu directly said, "You are injured for the reputation of the college. If you don't even accept this pill, as the Vice Principal, I will be ashamed." Bailey Hongzhuang felt the concern in Huan Chuyu's words and thought for a moment before nodding. "Thank you, Vice Principal." Huan Chuyu nodded slightly, glancing at Lu Huayin and then at Xia Jiqing and the others. Obviously, Xia Jiqing and the others still had something to say to Bailey Hongzhuang. If he and Lu Huayin continue to stay here, everyone would be very cautious. "Then I will go with Teacher Lu first. Don't stay too long. Let Bailey Hongzhuang have a good rest," Huan Chuyu said slowly. "Understood." Everyone nodded, and a smile appeared on their faces. After Huan Chuyu and Lu Huayin left, Xia Jiqing breathed a sigh of relief. Her bright eyes were filled with excitement. "Hongzhuang, you are amazing. This time the one who is going to collapse is Nangong Xiujia. Haha." Since coming to Lingyin College, their mood had been very depressed. Whether it was the cultivators of Lingyin College or the members of the royal family, they all had a high and mighty appearance. This time they had finally taught them a good lesson, and their hearts were filled with unspeakable joy. Jiqing is right. Nangong Xiujia deserves to be humiliated. In my opinion, he won't dare to go out in a short time. Bai Junyu clenched his fists. His face was full of relief. Nangong Xiujia was too arrogant before. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang slapped his face, he felt that his breathing was a lot smoother. This time, Nangong Xiujia has completely lost his face. A rare smile appeared on Gong Xiaoqing's face. After all, they were not from the Qing dynasty. Even if it was embarrassing, once they left the Qing dynasty, their influence would be greatly reduced. Unfortunately, Nangong Xiujia did not have such good luck. He lost face on his home ground, and, as the prince of the Qing dynasty, it would take a long time for him to wash away all this. "I wonder how Dongfang Yu is doing now." Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. She did this because she wanted to avenge Dongfang Yu. Now that she had gotten her revenge, she didn't know what happened to Dongfang Yu. "I just heard Teacher Lu say that this news should be helpful to Dongfang Yu. You don't have to worry about Dongfang Yu's situation. There will be a final tomorrow, and your physical condition." Gong Xiaoqing's handsome face was a little worried. The final was the most important. If Bailey Hongzhuang was injured because of the promotion, she would not be able to exert her full strength in the final tomorrow. That would be a pity. As Gong Xiaoqing's voice fell, everyone's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. This was also the problem they were most worried about. Chapter 777. Don't worry, it won't affect me. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand. Her internal injuries were not serious. As for the external injuries, it would be over soon. She could still perform well in tomorrow's competition. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was so confident, everyone was completely relieved. If Bailey Hongzhuang could not play in tomorrow's final, it would be a pity. "Hongzhuang, you have good rest. We won't disturb you here." Zhang Yunfeng's eyes were full of concern. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's pale face, she knew that her current situation was not very good. If they continued to stay here, it would only delay Bailey Hongzhuang's rest time. Tomorrow was the final. Bailey Hongzhuang's time to rest was very short, so they still let Bailey Hongzhuang rest early. "You're tired today. Go back and rest early," Bailey Hongzhuang said. "Hongzhuang, I won't disturb you today. See you tomorrow." Xia Jiqing winked at Bailey Hongzhuang and then closed the door. After everyone left, Bailey Hongzhuang was just about to lie down and rest, but the door was opened again. Mo Yunjue slowly walked in. Seeing Mo Yunjue, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes quietly revealed a strange color. "Why are you here? You don't seem to want to see me?" Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. No. For Mo Yunjue, Bailey Hongzhuang only felt that the situation between the two seemed to be very strange. She always felt that Mo Yunjue was not so simple, but so far she had not found anything wrong with Mo Yunjue. Perhaps she was really thinking too much. "I just came to see you. I hope your injury is not very serious." Mo Yunjue appeared to be very carefree as he sat down beside Bailey Hongzhuang. "I'm fine. My injuries aren't serious," Bailey Hongzhuang replied with a faint smile. "I heard that you are already married. Why didn't your husband come with you this time?" Mo Yunjue asked with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly startled. It had been a month since Di Beichen left. She didn't know how things were going. In addition, before Di Beichen left, he did not know that she would come to the Qing dynasty to participate in the inter-school tournament. If Di Beichen rushed back to the academy, he would only find that she was not there at all. Come to think of it, Di Beichen should still need some time to meet up with her. She seemed to be used to Di Beichen's cheeky smile by her side. During this period of absence, she also missed it. Mo Yunjue looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's dazed look, and his eyes gradually changed a little. When Bailey Hongzhuang came back to her senses, she found that Mo Yunjue had already stuffed a pill into her mouth. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes showed a touch of surprise. "Mo Yunjue, the effect of this pill is very good. You should be able to recover as soon as possible after taking it." Mo Yunjue smiled faintly. "Since your real husband is not here, then during this time, I, your fake husband, will take care of you." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a strange light. As an alchemist, she already knew what this pill was when it entered her mouth. A fourth-grade pill, this was a sacred healing item. It was a bit too extravagant for such a simple injury. However, she was even more surprised by what Mo Yunjue said. What kind of theory was this? Chapter 778. Nangong Aochen's cultivation is at the 5th level of the Red Realm, and his strength is very strong. Moreover, he is different from Nangong Xiujie. He has always faced his opponents and is a gentleman. However, a gentleman also has his own persistence. Regardless of whether his relationship with Nangong Xiujie is good or bad, your actions today have always damaged the face of the royal family. I believe that Nangong Aochen will win back the face of the royal family in the finals. Of course, it will be in a dignified way. Not only that, Nangong Aochen also has a contract beast whose strength is also equivalent to a human cultivator at the 5th level of the Red Realm. Therefore, he is worthy of being the strongest in Lingyin College. When you meet him in the finals, you must be careful, but your Beast King will not be weaker than his contract beast. If your Beast King is older, it will be able to defeat them. As for now, this battle is still unknown. Listening to Mo Yunjue's information, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were more and more surprised. Even the teachers had not collected so much information about Nangong Aochen, but Mo Yunjue knew it like the back of his hand. She felt that Mo Yunjue came here at this moment, first for her injury, and second to tell her this useful information. In fact, after knowing the exact cultivation of Nangong Aochen, her heart that had been hanging in the air was also relieved. If he knew about it earlier, he would be able to deal with it earlier. It was much better than only knowing about it when he was standing on the martial arts stage. "Thank you," Bailey Hongzhuang said sincerely. She did not understand why Mo Yunjue would help her like this, but she was really grateful. Mo Yunjue smiled faintly. "You have a good rest. I will come back tomorrow to see you fight. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Take care. With the departure of Mo Yunjue, Bailey Hongzhuang also lay on the bed, her whole body relaxed. The previous battle had also caused her a lot of consumption, and there was a burst of pain in her wounds. The effect of the fourth-grade pill was needless to say. Since taking this pill, Bailey Hongzhuang felt that the pain in her body was much better, and even the external injuries began to improve. The higher the level of the pill, the better the effect. This was also the reason why advanced alchemists were so popular. Bailey Hongzhuang changed into clean clothes and bandaged the wounds on her body before she began to rest. However, this night, Bailey Hongzhuang also received a message. The finals were changed to be held 3 days later, and the alchemy competition would be held tomorrow. After knowing the result, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also showed a touch of surprise. Why did they change the time of the competition? Wasn't it always like this in the previous years? I heard that this request was made by Nangong Aochin. He said that because you were injured, it was not fair to have the finals tomorrow, so it was changed to 3 days later. Xia Jiqing's eyes were also filled with an incredible look. Nangong Aochin was too awesome. With just a sentence, he changed the schedule of the Academy Exchange. So that's how it is. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. She couldn't help but recall what Mo Yunjue said. Nangong Aochin was a gentleman, so he was not willing to take advantage of this matter. Chapter 779. For this result, Bailey Hongzhuang did not have much feeling. Since she could be given 3 more days to rest, it was also a good thing, although her injury did not have much impact. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang and others rushed to the place where the alchemy competition was held. In the 3 colleges, there were not many alchemists, but this alchemy competition also attracted a lot of attention. Not for other reasons, but because alchemists were always covered with a layer of mystery in the eyes of ordinary people. Finally, they could see the process of alchemists refining pills, so naturally they would not miss it. Hongzhuang, I heard that after Nangong Xiujie went back yesterday, I don't know how he died. Cui Haoyan's face was full of shock. When he heard the news early in the morning, he felt that it was incredible. Although Nangong Xiujie's injury was very serious yesterday, it was not life-threatening. Now he was dead. Wasn't it too strange? What did you say? How is this possible? Xia Jiqing couldn't help but yell. This news was really too shocking. However, for a guy like Nangong Xiujie, it was not a pity to die. If he died, there would be one less scourge in the world. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes widened. It was really incredible. She knew about Nangong Xiujie's injury. Although he suffered some internal injuries, he only needed to recuperate for a month to recover, and his life was not in danger. Was it because of her humiliation yesterday that Nangong Xiujie could not bear it and committed suicide? When this idea appeared in her mind, Bailey Hongzhuang erased it herself. With Nangong Xiujie's personality, although this humiliation was very unbearable, he would never commit suicide. The cause of death was probably quite strange. At this time, Gong Xiaoqing also walked to the side of Bailey Hongzhuang and others. After hearing their discussion, Gong Xiaoqing also said what he knew. You don't have to guess. As far as I know, Nangong Xiujie was killed by someone else. When these words came out, Xia Jiqing took a breath of cold air. Nangong Xiujie is a member of the royal family. He was killed in the Qing dynasty? That person's courage is really not small. With Nangong Xiujie's character, it's not surprising that he was killed. It's just that things have become very sensitive at this time. I also learned about it from the vice principal. Gong Xiaoqing's eyes flashed with thoughts. This scene was too strange. Could it be that the other party deliberately took advantage of Nangong Xiujie's injury to kill him? Fortunately, no one suspected Bailey Hongzhuang because of this. Because it was impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang to break through the heavy defense of the royal family and assassinate Nangong Xiujie in her injured state. Nangong Yujin was obviously frightened by this incident, so he didn't appear until now. He didn't know if he would appear in today's alchemy competition. So, the reason why Nangong Aochin suddenly changed the way of the competition is probably because he needs to find the assassin of Nangong Xiujie. Cui Haoyan murmured. Nangong Xiujia was first humiliated and then inexplicably died. This was a big blow to the majesty of the royal family. Chapter 780. In this regard, Bailey Hongzhuang did not feel much. Nangong Xiujia's death was nothing to be regretted. Whoever killed him was also doing the people a favor. By the way, how is Dong Fangyu now? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Gong Xiaoqing and asked. Last night, she had been resting and did not know about Dong Fangyu's situation. Gong Xiaoqing smiled faintly. Dong Fangyu is a lot better. According to the judgment of the vice principal, it will not be long before Dong Fangyu can recover from that state. Hearing this, everyone showed a comfortable smile. Dong Fangyu was the problem they were most worried about. After knowing that Dong Fangyu would be safe, they were also relieved. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were waiting for the upcoming alchemy competition, Wubao Pavilions by Jingtian and the others also learned about Bailey Hongzhuang's news. They did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang turned out to be a student of Kanglin College and a real cultivator. When they learned the news, they were speechless. It was rare for an inscription master to appear. Instead of being an inscription master, she ran to be a cultivator. Wasn't this a waste of talent? However, when Bai Jingtian and the others heard that Bailey Hongzhuang had defeated Nangong Xiujia, the three of them who had always been calm also showed an incredible color. Bailey Hongzhuang is so strong. They did not know the strength of Bailey Hongzhuang, but they knew the strength of Nangong Xiujia. Among the younger generation of the royal family, in addition to Nangong Aochin, Nangong Xiujia was the strongest. Bailey Hongzhuang actually defeated Nangong Xiujia. It could be seen that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation talent was also outstanding. However, after thinking about it, the three old guys directly ignored this news. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation talent was outstanding, she could not waste an inscription master's talent. The Shengxian continent did not lack cultivators, but inscription masters were truly rare. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't want to be an inscription master, but she wanted to steal the limelight from a large group of cultivators. Wasn't this a waste? Let's go to Lingyin College now. Bai Jingtian was obviously a man of his word. After spending so much effort to find out about Bailey Hongzhuang, he naturally had to hurry over. Qin Qingwu and Ji Yunma also nodded. Bailey Hongzhuang was the inscription genius they valued. If she was injured in the battle and hurt her hand, they would be worried to death. When the waiter saw Bai Jingtian and the other two leave the Wubao Pavilion and quickly go to the Lingyin College, he was shocked. She had been in Wubao Pavilion for so long, but it was the first time she had seen the three inscription masters so anxious. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not wait for long. The four principals had also appeared on the high platform. Obviously, Jian Qingqiu's face was not so good. Compared to Huan Qiu's face, Jian Qingqiu was slightly gloomy. In his view, yesterday's promotion match was a complete failure. Lingyin College had lost face, but because of his identity as the principal, he could only try his best to cover up some of his emotions. Chapter 781. Hearing this, everyone nodded. This assessment was very fair. Immediately afterward, Lu Qinyue and the others stepped onto the alchemy platform that had already been prepared. However, when they looked at it, everyone's expression could not help but change. Both Lingyin College and Beihai College have two alchemists participating in the competition. Cui Haoyan's face was full of surprise. They had always thought that among the three colleges, each college would only have one alchemist participating in the competition. In fact, the most important thing in the college tournament was the strength of the competition. The alchemist competition was not particularly important, but it was held every year, so everyone had formed a habit. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. According to the information she had learned before, Beihai College should only have one alchemist participating. How come there is suddenly one more? What's more, this person was still a very good face. They had previously clashed with the team of Beihai College more than once. However, there was no such alchemist in this team. Is it possible that they're doing something fishy? Xia Jiqing's face became ugly. Yesterday, Kanglin College was in the limelight. Both Beihai College and Kanglin College had lost face. Could it be that they wanted to make a comeback in this alchemy competition? Lu Qinhue obviously did not expect such a situation. Her face could not help but become ugly. Although she was very confident in her alchemy level, she still could not help but worry. After all, her alchemy level was not a secret. Many people already knew about it. The number of people could not gain too much of an advantage. However, she did not rule out the possibility that the other side might have an alchemist who was stronger than her. Huan Chuyu also frowned slightly. According to his judgment, if there was no certain reason, Kanglin College and Beihai College would not do this at all. He was afraid that there was a certain clue in this. However, so far, he had not found anything, so there was no way to prevent it. Both Lingyin College and Beihai College have 2 people. We only have Lu Qinyue. Isn't that too much of a loss? Zhang Yinfeng could not help but look at Lu Huayan. It was their first time participating in the college tournament. They did not know much about the specific situation. Lu Huayan's eyes were deep, and there was a bit of hesitation in his expression. In fact, even he was not sure what the problem was, but he could be sure that there must be a problem. I'm not sure. They seem to suddenly have one more person. There was no news before this. Hearing this, the expressions of Gong Shaoqing and the others changed a bit. This situation was a bit bad. Just as everyone was thinking about what was going on, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly spoke up. "It's okay, I'll go too." As soon as these words came out, everyone's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang's body, revealing a bit of surprise and surprise. In fact, Bailey Hongzhuang was indeed an alchemist, and her alchemy skills were very good. "Bailey Hongzhuang, you were injured yesterday. Refining Dan is a very taxing thing," Lu Huayan said with concern. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and waved her hand carelessly. "It doesn't matter. I've only suffered some superficial wounds. It doesn't affect my spirit at all." Chapter 782. Bailey Hongzhuang had already done enough for this tournament. Even he was full of gratitude to Bailey Hongzhuang. He was only afraid that the alchemy competition would put a burden on Bailey Hongzhuang. Looking at the hesitation in Lu Huayan's expression, Bailey Hongzhuang did not hesitate to walk towards the alchemy platform. Since she was already here, she would do her best to win this inter-academy competition. Alchemy was not a difficult ability for her, not to mention that her spiritual force was not damaged at all, so there was no problem. Lu Huayan also did not think that Bailey Hongzhuang would directly walk up, but after thinking for a moment, he did not stop her. Bailey Hongzhuang had her own ideas. Since she had made such a decision, he believed that Bailey Hongzhuang was not showing off her ability, but really had the ability. Thinking back to when he and Fu Hongbo insisted on recruiting Bailey Hongzhuang to the Azure Water School, he only felt that Bailey Hongzhuang's talent was very outstanding. From her body, he could see the persistence and unyielding, which was very rare. He did not expect that after this period of time, Bailey Hongzhuang's growth would be so amazing. He could not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang was just a 16-year-old girl. From the meticulousness and confidence she showed when doing things, this was not something a young girl could have. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had it. Perhaps, in this world, there were some geniuses who were favored by the heavens. She was destined to not be comparable to ordinary cultivators. Standing on the high platform, Lu Qinyue could not help but worry. This situation was obviously not the same as what she had imagined. However, when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang walking towards her, the worry in her heart dissipated a bit. Bailey Hongzhuang always had the power to make people feel at ease. Even she had to admit that all the difficult things seemed to become less difficult when Bailey Hongzhuang was around. However, many onlookers from the Qing dynasty had a strange look on their faces when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang step onto the high platform of the alchemy competition. Isn't that Bailey Hongzhuang who defeated Nangong Xiuji yesterday? What's she doing on the alchemy platform? I don't know. Could it be that he's going to participate in the alchemy competition? Are you kidding me? She's a genuine cultivator. Don't tell me you're saying that she's also an alchemist? When someone said this, everyone laughed and shook their heads. This was simply impossible. As everyone knew, it took a lot of effort to become an alchemist. With Bailey Hongzhuang's age, it was already very outstanding for her to obtain her current strength. Thinking about it, Bailey Hongzhuang must have put all her energy into cultivation. It was impossible for her to have the energy to learn alchemy. Xia Jiqing and others were not surprised by the discussions of the people around them. In fact, they also thought so at the beginning. However, there were always some freaks in the world that broke their common sense. Bailey Hongzhuang was such a freak. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly stood beside Lu Qingyue and showed a confident and reassuring smile to Lu Qingyue. Lu Qingyue nodded slightly, and the tension in her heart completely dissipated. The alchemists of Beihai College and Lingyin College looked at Bailey Hongzhuang curiously. They did not know what Bailey Hongzhuang was doing here. Chapter 783. Seeing this scene, Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi couldn't help but look at each other. They didn't understand what Bailey Hongzhuang was going to do. In fact, since Kanglin College stole the limelight yesterday, Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi secretly decided that no matter what, they couldn't let Kanglin College be in the limelight in today's alchemy competition. Lu Qingyue was the proud disciple of Huan Chuyu. They all knew that Lu Qingyue's alchemy level was very good. It was precisely because of this that they had arranged 2 alchemists to go up, so that they could increase their chances of winning. However, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly stood up now. What was she going to do? The two looked at each other. After seeing that the other party was confused, Jian Qingxiu looked to Huan Chuyu and asked, "Old Huan, what is Bailey Hongzhuang doing on the high platform?" When Huan Chuyu saw Bailey Hongzhuang walking to the high platform, he already understood Bailey Hongzhuang's plan. After his hanging heart was relieved, he appreciated Bailey Hongzhuang even more. It was a great blessing for Kanglin College to be able to recruit Bailey Hongzhuang. Since Bailey Hongzhuang entered Kanglin College didn't give her much care. Bailey Hongzhuang did her best for the honor of the school. No one would dislike such a student. Listening to Jian Qingxiu's question, Huan Chuyu smiled faintly. Bailey Hongzhuang is also an alchemist. As soon as these words came out, Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi were both stunned. Their eyes flashed with an incredible light. How is this possible? However, after seeing Huan Chuyu's confident smile, they knew that what Huan Chuyu said was true. After thinking about it carefully, the two also relaxed a little. They thought that Kanglin College only saw that they had 2 alchemists, so they let Bailey Hongzhuang go up to make up the number. Judging from Bailey Hongzhuang's achievements in cultivation, it was impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang to have any great achievements in alchemy. She was just there to fill in the numbers. Jian Qingxiu shook his head. He really didn't know what Huan Chuyu was thinking. If it was just to make up the numbers, then don't let Bailey Hongzhuang go up. She would just embarrass herself. Bailey Hongzhuang's performance yesterday was amazing, but today she was going to be ridiculed here. However, this was also what he wanted to see. Next, please welcome the 3 alchemists from the Qing Dynasty's Alchemist Guild. As Jian Qingxiu's words fell, everyone present perked up. An alchemist was a high and mighty existence. An alchemist who could be invited by Jian Qingxiu today must be an extraordinary figure. Everyone in the Qing dynasty knew who the 3 most famous alchemists in the Alchemist Association were. If it was during normal times, it would not be easy to meet them. On the other side of the high platform, the 3 alchemists slowly walked up. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also fell on the 3 alchemists. These 3 alchemists were all in their 50s or 60s. They were kind, and there was a bit of arrogance between their eyebrows. Almost every alchemist had this kind of arrogance, because from the moment they became alchemists, they were already looking down on everyone else. Chapter 784. Among the 3 alchemists, 2 were men and 1 was a woman. Female alchemists were few in number among all the alchemists, and those with high alchemy skills were even fewer. This was because the higher the alchemist's level, the more mental strength they would need. There are not many females who could reach this step. The most important thing was that females had more thoughts than males. Usually, after getting married and having children, the situation would become different. Obviously, this female alchemist must be a very extraordinary person. From Lu Qingyue's introduction, Bailey Hongzhuang understood that the only female alchemist was called Chu Jio. She was a 4th-rank alchemist and was very knowledgeable in alchemy skills. Not only that, Chu Jio had never married in her life and put all her thoughts on studying alchemy skills. As for the other 2 alchemists, The slightly rounder male was called Lin Hao. Just like his name, he was very heroic and very easy to get along with. The other tall and skinny old man was called Chen Yu. He was also a fourth-rank alchemist. Usually, he would secretly compete with Lin Hao. This was a fact that the entire alchemist guild recognized. Huan Chuyu and these three alchemists were old acquaintances, and their relationship was very good. Previously, when Huan Chuyu said that he was going to visit his old friends, he was going to visit them. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and nodded. Huan Chuyu was a fourth-rank alchemist, and also the Alchemist Guild's Songlan City branch. He naturally knew many friends. However, in the next moment, the news that Lu Qingyue said made Bailey Hongzhuang shocked. Hongzhuang, do you know why Elder Chun and Elder Lin usually like to compete with each other? Lu Qingyue smiled and asked. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Could it be that there is a reason behind this? Lu Qingyue's smile widened. That is because Elder Lin and Elder Chun both like Elder Chu. Therefore, these years, they always like to compete with each other in alchemy skills. There are many people who know about this news. Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. She didn't expect Lin Hao and Chun Yu to be so jealous of each other despite their age. It was really interesting. Upon closer inspection, Bailey Hongzhuang also noticed some clues. Lin Hao and Chun Yu were both standing beside Chu Jio, sandwiching her in the middle. It was obvious that both of them genuinely liked Chu Jio. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile widened a little. It seemed that these three seniors' lives were also legends. After Jian Qingqiu introduced the identity of the three alchemists, the alchemy competition really began. Now, let's draw the questions. The first question will be drawn by the vice principal of Kanglin College, Old Huan. Jian Qingqiu smiled. Huan Chuyu slowly stood up and placed a cylinder in front of him. Within the cylinder, there were several prepared scrolls of paper. Huan Chuyu immediately took out one of the scrolls, untied the string tied to it, and read out the title written on the scroll. The first question is the classification of medicinal materials. The medicinal materials of two different pill formulas are placed together. The cultivators of each college will classify the medicinal materials belonging to these two kinds of pills and remove some unnecessary medicinal materials. The fastest team will get 3 points, the second team will get 2 points, and the third team will get 1 point. Chapter 785. After Huan Chuyu finished reading the questions on the paper, his eyes could not help but fall on Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi. Obviously, these two guys had already discussed the questions, so today they suddenly sent out two alchemists, wanting to outdo the Kanglin College in this matter. It was just that they did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be a variable. At this moment, Huan Chuyu only felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was simply the lucky star of the Kanglin College. Under the high platform, Xia Jiqing and the others could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Hongzhuang went up, otherwise the situation would be terrible. Lingying College is really despicable. They can even think of this kind of question. I really admire them. Bai Junyu shook his head helplessly. He really could not be the principal without a certain amount of brain power. The reason why Jian Qingqiu was able to let Lingying College get such a position in the Qing dynasty was because of his brain power. Zhang Yinfeng and the others also sighed, but they had always been convinced by Lu Qingyue's alchemy level. After all, Lu Qingyue was a rare alchemy genius. Soon, dozens of medicinal herbs were placed on the table in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and Xia Jiqing. Obviously, there were medicinal herbs that were not needed at all, and they needed to remove them one by one. These medicinal herbs were not prepared by Lingying College, but by the three alchemists. As alchemists, they were the best at assessing alchemists, and they also knew what kind of problems were the most likely mistakes to be made by cultivators. Therefore, there were many traps in these medicinal herbs. Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qingyue looked at each other, and then their eyes fell on the numerous medicinal herbs. They did not say which two pills it is. It seems that we need to make our own judgment. Lu Qingyue said slowly. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded lightly, and there was not the slightest embarrassment on her delicate and perfect face. Since they have not told us the type of pill, I believe that it should be a pill formula that we all know. If we look carefully, we should be able to distinguish it. Bailey Hongzhuang was very calm. Although the complexity of the medicinal herbs looked dazzling, it was the same for others. As long as it was a pill recipe that everyone understood, with her and Lu Qinyue's understanding of medicinal herbs, it was not a problem to quickly classify it. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Lu Qinyue also calmed her mind and began to carefully analyze the medicinal pills that these medicinal herbs belonged to. Under the high platform, some onlookers who didn't understand the situation saw that Bailey Hongzhuang really began to pick herbs with xia jiqing, and their eyes changed. They looked at each other, unable to believe what they were seeing. Bailey Hongzhuang is actually an alchemist. Isn't this too inconceivable? Clearly, Bailey Hongzhuang had already used her actions to prove her identity as an alchemist. If she was not an alchemist, she would not continue to stand on the high platform and take the assessment with Lu Qinyue. This Bailey Hongzhuang is really the most miraculous woman I have ever seen. Although she is an alchemist, I believe that her alchemy skills shouldn't be very good. That's natural, but just the fact that she can become an alchemist is already very impressive. What an enviable talent. Chapter 786. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the many medicinal herbs in front of her, and her mind quickly thought about the pill recipes of these herbs. Jinling grass, matchless wood, black rattan branch. After looking at these herbs, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes suddenly lit up. She had already guessed a kind of pill. Healing pill. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyes slightly, and her eyes fell on Lu Qinyue. If she guessed correctly, these herbs would definitely be able to gather the herbs needed to refine the healing pill. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Lu Qinyue also looked at the herbs and then showed a happy smile. Hongzhuang, you are right. It is the healing pill. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and immediately selected the herbs needed for the healing pill from the many herbs. When Bailey Hongzhuang picked out the herbs needed for the healing pill, Lu Qinyue looked for the pill recipe in the next herbs. When Lu Qinyue was thinking, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the Jinling grass in her hand. The weight of this Jinling grass seemed to be more than the weight of other herbs. Lu Qinyue looked at the herbs, and a little worry appeared on her outstanding face. How could this be? Bailey Hongzhuang saw that Lu Qinyue did not answer for a long time, and could not help but ask, Qinyue, did you not find it? Lu Qinyue shook her head slightly, and her face was filled with anxiety. It was reasonable to say that this was not a difficult assessment, so time was very important. As far as the eyes could see, the alchemists of Lingyin College and Beihai College were not slow, and the next problem was speed. Compared to Lu Qinyue's nervousness, Bailey Hongzhuang was very calm and calm. She clearly knew that anxiety would not help them at all. On the contrary, it might drag down their progress. What's more, the alchemy competition was the result of the 3 assessments, not 1 assessment. With Bailey Hongzhuang's psychological quality, she was not worried at all. No, Lu Qinyue frowned slightly. This situation was too strange, and it did not match at all. Hongzhuang, I think the remaining herbs are very similar to the herbs for refining the Tianyuan pill, but the Jinling grass has been used as a material for the healing pill, so the Tianyuan pill is missing a material. Lu Qinyue was puzzled. According to the rules of the competition they had heard, there should be enough herbs for refining 2 kinds of pills. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes brightened, and a smile appeared on her face. Yes, it is Tianyuan pill. You can take out the herbs for the Tianyuan pill first. There was a touch of surprise in Lu Qinyue's eyes. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was so sure, she did not hesitate and immediately took out the herbs. Hongzhuang, but this is Jinling grass, Lu of Lu Qinyue. Lu Qinyue was of the medicine of medicine. Lu Qinyue and Lu Qinyue of the Lu Qinyue. Seeing this, Lu Qinyue once again looked at the 2 herbs, and a happy smile appeared on her face. She did not expect that in this round of assessment, there would be such a small test. This was not only to test their identification of herbs, but also their mastery of the quantity of herbs. The next moment, Lu Qinyue and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other and smiled. They raised their hands together, indicating that they had completed the first round of the assessment. Chapter 787. Under the high platform, the eyes of all the onlookers were filled with curiosity. Previously, they only saw the three teams constantly busy, but they did not understand what they were doing. At this moment, after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang take the lead in raising their hands, their expressions changed a bit. They did not expect the alchemists of the Kangling College to be so powerful. I knew that Hongzhuang's speed must be the fastest. Xia Jiqing smiled. Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qinyue were the most outstanding alchemists in her eyes. Although she did not know the level of alchemists of Lingyin College and Beihai College, she was still full of confidence in Bailey Hongzhuang. There was also a faint smile on the faces of Gong Shaoqing and the others. Compared to the competition of cultivators, this competition of alchemists undoubtedly made them relax a bit. After all, Lu Qinyue was the proud disciple of Huan Chuyu, and her strength was not exaggerated. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the other two teams. Their speed was also not slow, but they were trapped in the same problem as Lu Qinyue. If there were two Jinling grass among these herbs, then in this first assessment, it was really not known who would be faster. Chu Jiao and the other two came to Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qinyue. After seeing Lu Qinyue, the faces of the three people also showed a faint smile. They were not unfamiliar with Lu Qinyue. On the contrary, they were very familiar with the proud disciple of Huan Chuyu. At this moment, their eyes also showed a kind light. The three people looked at the herbs placed on the table and could not help but nod. The result of the distribution was not wrong. In front of the herbs, Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qinyue had already written down the medicinal pills used for these two herbs on the paper. Especially after seeing the Jinling grass divided into two, Chu Jiao nodded slightly and said with a smile, "You did a good job." As she spoke, Chu Jiao's gaze involuntarily fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. They did not miss the previous scene. It was obvious that Bailey Hongzhuang was the first to discover the problem with the Jinling grass. According to their understanding, Bailey Hongzhuang was a cultivator who focused on cultivation. They didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang also dabbled in alchemy and was very careful, which surprised them. After hearing Chu Jiao's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Xia Jiqing looked at each other, and a smile spread on their lips. When the alchemists of Lingyin College and Beihai College saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had finished, they couldn't help but feel anxious. Because of this anxiety, it was inevitable that his hands and feet would be in a mess, and he would be even slower. When Huan Chuyu saw the performance of Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang, the corners of his mouth revealed a light smile. He was indeed very confident in the attainments of Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang in alchemy. Although Chu Jiao and the others had not announced the results yet, with his understanding of his friends for many years, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang had obviously succeeded. Jian Qingxiu frowned slightly. He wanted to use this method to defeat Kangling College, but he didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang was really useful. She even helped Lu Qinyue complete the first round of assessment at the fastest speed. This was obviously not in his plan. Chapter 788. For today's alchemy competition, Sang Hongxi was also very nervous. In fact, the only alchemist from Beihai College who came with the team was Gu Yaoi. But yesterday, after Jian Qingxiu and Lin Yinghao told him about today's plan, they added another person to the team. This person was not a cultivator of Beihai College, but Jian Qingxiu and Lin Yinghao helped him find him. Although Jian Qingxiu and Lin Yinghao promised that there would be no problem, he was still a little nervous. Once this problem was exposed, it would undoubtedly be a huge blow to the reputation of Beihai College. However, Wei Hanyun was a second-grade alchemist, and his alchemy level was very exquisite. With his addition, Beihai College had more confidence in this alchemy competition. According to his idea, with the addition of Wei Hanyun, this round of assessment would definitely be easy, but he did not expect that the first to complete it would be Kangling College. It was really beyond his expectations. Jinling grass is just a trick of the three masters. It's just that during the competition, everyone is very anxious, so they ignore it. Lu Qinhue saw that the other two teams were still anxious about this problem, and her face couldn't help but be a little more emotional. Hongzhuang, fortunately you are careful enough, otherwise I don't know when I would be able to understand this. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. I just found out, in fact, you will soon understand. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent appearance, Lu Qinyue's eyes were slightly dark. In fact, she knew in her heart that her psychological quality really couldn't be compared with Bailey Hongzhuang. She was a little older than Bailey Hongzhuang, but Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to have a lot of experience, and no matter what, she never showed the slightest tension. In contrast, she would be a little nervous on such an occasion, and might not even perform as well as usual. The second to complete was the Alchemist of Beihai College, and the third to complete was Lingyin College. The Alchemist of Lingyin College and Beihai College completed almost at the same time, but the Alchemist of Beihai College raised his hand slightly faster. In the end, Kanglin College got 3 points, Beihai College got 2 points, and Lingyin College got 1 point. For this result, the Alchemists of Lingyin College were very helpless. If the difference in time was greater, then it would have been fine, but they had lost a point at that moment. In fact, the Alchemists of Beihai College were also very upset. They had already concluded that there were many medicinal ingredients for the healing pill and Tianyuan pill, but they had never noticed the problem of Jinling grass. Originally, this should have been a very simple assessment, but they thought it was extremely complicated. It was hard for them to accept such a simple problem, and they had failed to solve such a simple problem. It was hard for them to accept. Bailey Hongzhuang also felt that she was lucky to win this assessment. The first assessment was not difficult at all. With her many years of experience in refining pills, as long as she held the medicinal ingredients in her hand, she would be able to determine the weight of the medicinal ingredients. This was just a coincidence. Chapter 789. What's wrong with Lingyin College? In the past, Lingyin College had always been at the top without any controversy, but this time the situation has obviously changed. The people of the Qing dynasty were a little disappointed after knowing the result. According to their thinking, Lingyin College should be the well-deserved first place. After all, for so many years, the performance of Lingyin College had been very outstanding, and it could be said to be the pride of the entire Qing dynasty. But this time the performance was really disappointing. Kanglin College has been suppressed for too long. This year's college tournament seems to be breaking out. What are you worried about? This is just the first round of assessment. The final result is not certain. The vast majority of the people of the Qing dynasty firmly believed that Lingyin College would win the final victory. Whether it was cultivation or alchemy, there was no place where Lingyin College was weak. Wei Hanyun's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang, his eyes flashing with strong dissatisfaction. This defeat was really too unjust. Kanglin College really has no one. Even a cultivator has to come up. It seems that the burden on Lu Qinyue is not small. Wei Hanyun's eyes fell on Lu Qinyue's body, but his words were mocking Bailey Hongzhuang. He really couldn't understand. A cultivator should be good at cultivation, but he didn't know why they came here to join the fun. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Wei Hanyun indifferently. Now she was immune to such provocative remarks. It could not cause any emotional fluctuations in her. However, for Wei Hanyun, who had never appeared before, she was a little strange. There had never been such a person in Beihai College before, and this Wei Hanyun was obviously not young. Could it be that Beihai College had already prepared a trump card? Lu Qinyue frowned slightly. She instinctively had a resistance to Wei Hanyun, and her voice was cold. Hongzhuang's alchemy skills are very strong. She's a very good alchemist. She didn't know who Wei Hanyun was, but since these words were said to her, she couldn't let Wei Hanyun slander Bailey Hongzhuang like this. Listening to Lu Qinyue's words, Wei Hanyun sneered. Lu Qinyue, I didn't expect that your ability to lie with your eyes wide open is getting better and better. The two alchemists of Lingyin College were both men, called Qi Junan and Yi Ruyu. When they saw Wei Hanyun mocking Bailey Hongzhuang, the two of them couldn't help but ridicule him. It's no secret that the current Azure Water College's talents have withered. The number of students is getting smaller and smaller. Naturally, there's no need to mention the alchemists. Even if you find a half-baked alchemist, it's still much better than not having one. Yi Ryu chuckled. Wei Han-yun and Yi Ryu looked at each other. Compared to Kanglin College, Lingyin College and Beihai College were allies, so they could be said to be united. Bailey Hongzhuang's cold gaze swept across Wei Han-yun and the others one by one. The corners of her lips slowly curled into a charming and dazzling smile. However, under such circumstances, it seemed unusually out of place. From the looks of it, you are all alchemists with outstanding alchemy skills. Wei Han-yun and the others looked proudly at Bailey Hongzhuang. Of course. Chapter 790. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips slightly hooked, and her smile became more and more charming. In that case, how did you lose the first round of the assessment? As soon as these words came out, the faces of Wei Han-yun and others changed a bit. Bailey Hongzhuang's words were obviously to embarrass them. That's just Lu Qinyue's ability. It has nothing to do with you. Wei Han-yun said in a deep voice. The failure of the first round was simply a great shame. Now that he thought about it, he didn't understand why he couldn't even see such a simple situation and lost points for nothing. For Wei Han-yun's sarcasm, Bailey Hongzhuang acted as if she didn't hear it. In that case, Lu Qinyue's strength alone is enough to defeat your alliance. Even if I'm only here to make up the number of people, so what? Wei Han-yun and others were stunned. For Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent appearance, they only felt that their fist had hit cotton, and there was an indescribable discomfort. Why did Bailey Hongzhuang not play according to common sense at all? It was reasonable to say that anyone would be very unhappy after hearing such words. But Bailey Hongzhuang not only wasn't unhappy at all, she seemed to think that it was very normal. They just wanted to use this method to disturb Bailey Hongzhuang's heart. As a result, Bailey Hongzhuang's following performance was likely to drag Lu Qinyue down, so their chances of winning would greatly increase. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was a master who didn't care about anything. It seemed that all of this had no effect on her, which really made people helpless. Lu Qinyue looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with admiration. If she was insulted like this, she would be very unhappy, but Bailey Hongzhuang was able to turn this into other people's unhappiness. This ability was what she admired the most. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang was a genuine genius alchemist. Even she may not be comparable to Bailey Hongzhuang in this regard. This group of guys now looked down on Bailey Hongzhuang so much they would definitely suffer in the following competition. How shameless! Gu Yaoi glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang contemptuously. She really didn't understand how a woman could be as shameless as Bailey Hongzhuang. If it were anyone else, they would be ashamed after hearing such remarks, but Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to be proud of it. Thank you for the compliment. Bailey Hongzhuang was still smiling. In today's world, it's hard to go far if you're not thick-skinned enough. For example, I really admire you guys. As Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, the faces of Gu Yaoi and others suddenly changed. Bailey Hongzhuang's words obviously scolded all of them. Bailey Hongzhuang, you... Gu Yaoi was angry for a while. She had never seen such a sharp-tongued person as Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her right hand slightly and directly stopped Gu Yaoi's words. You don't have to say more. Let's see the truth in the competition. You must not lose to me, a half-baked alchemist. Otherwise, it will really shame your school. Gu Yaoi glared at Bailey Hongzhuang angrily. You're dreaming. That's absolutely impossible. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged indifferently, turned her eyes, and didn't bother to pay attention to it. Xiaohei couldn't help but give a thumbs up to Bailey Hongzhuang. You're evil. At this moment, the more the master belittled herself, the louder the slap on the faces of Gu Yaoi and others would be later. It was looking forward to it more and more.